manager gets over here, and I give him the stink eye, and I say it was really happening, you are all my witnesses. It actually just went down. Okay, so our lab upstairs, this is one of the first times that we've actually had it fully staffed in this manner, which is really exciting. We're also now transitioning to all the things that we used to do all online like this. All of that is coming back to in person. So moving forward, this meeting, anyone who's online, it'll be in person. The scheduling attempts are really done well in advance so that we know what day this is going to occur so you can plan for it. We are still coming out of that post-COVID limitations that we had both in our space. And so give us the rest of this semester to get it course corrected. By fall, it will be done and we'll be ready. What other updates? Downstairs, we have a big change, and that change is anyone who has been here previously, I did all of Gabe's job and I did all of Javay's job. So all the clinical, all the compliance, all of the managing of all the things. I did all of the evaluations. All of that has changed now. So a couple of key items that are going to be different. If you have anything that has to do with clinical compliance, meaning my clinical exchange to get you ready so that you can go out and take students to clinicals, that is Javay Harris, okay? It's Javay Harris. And all of this is listed in our faculty canvas course that Marilyn's gonna go over. Dave is the person who, if you show up one day, your badge doesn't work, he's the one who's gonna get all over IT to make sure that badge access is there, okay? If you are somebody who is supposed to have a key and you don't have a key, Gabe is the one who will initiate things like that. If you can't seem to use the printer, that's a Gabe thing, all right? If you're like, I can't find Constance and I really need to talk to her, he can get into my calendar and he usually knows where I'm hiding, so he can find me, all right? Gabe does our program level things. If you need something ordered, if you're coming downstairs because one of the faculty said, oh my gosh, we ran out of whatever it is, come on down and Gabe will help you out. He's here 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, okay? Javay, and again, email is always the best way because she is navigating not only every single faculty member, and we have upwards of 70 adjuncts, plus 14 residential faculty and the staff, and up to 320 students. So that one person is managing all of the compliance and all of the hospitals there. So just make sure you're sending your stuff to the right person so that, because if it comes to me, which is still happening, I go ahead and put it on back to them anyway. So it kind of delays you getting an answer that you really need, right? Marilyn, she was our occupational program director, and so she handled a lot of the things technically that an assistant director would do. Due to some budgeting constraints, we had to kind of dissolve that and reimagine hers. But as you notice, a lot of the things that came with adjuncts came from her. So she actually, I have given her the hiring component of the adjuncts. So she will start that process out. She does all of the hiring. She works with the onboarding, okay? Then I have additional faculty along with me that help with your evaluations. Because as an adjunct, the first 3 semesters, you have to be evaluated each semester. And then per our accrediting and regulatory bodies, even though Maricopa says you only have to have it the first 3 semesters and then once every 3 years, do you think the Board of Nursing is okay with the evaluation once a year? Or ASIN? Absolutely not. So then you still have to have it once a year. There's only one of me. For me to do 100 of those is almost impossible. So it could rotate, but for right now, Jessica Dwork, who you met, Karen Hobbs, who is not here yet, Lindsay Gasparo, who you also met, they all take a certain number of adjuncts in this semester, and they had them last semester. And we divided them out. And the individuals that fall within, they each take about 6, right? Is it 6? 5? I can't remember now. Yeah. Somewhere in there, we can catch you. And so they reach out. They may come out to see you in clinical. It may be in lab. It may be in simulation. But they're going to go ahead and they're going to work on those evaluations, which then come over to me, they live in your files, okay? And then those who they don't capture, the rest of them are me. So if you're on night shift, I've got to find a way to come and see you on night shift. And I try my hardest so that we can plan that out. But so you see a lot of different people who are a part of your onboarding. And then there's Corinne, she'll do all that simulation training, and then we'll add Lisa in when it comes to the upstairs. So just know that we've got, it's a new structure now. And I used to be the main point of contact, and thank goodness I am no longer that main point of contact for everything. What do? I'm the one who's actually got all the staffing. So when it comes time to schedule you or offer placements in any of our experiences, that's me. Payroll, initially, that's me. Again, Marilyn's going to show you the overarching faculty canvas course where a lot of your answers live. But if there's a problem, hey, I didn't get paid at all. Okay, that's a me thing. And I can make sure that in the system that you're entered in there, not entered in there. If you are entered in there and you still didn't see anything, then we bump it on over to HR, okay? But I'm the one that puts kind of the load, and that's how you're paid, by load. We don't clock in and out here. That's usually a question I get. Do I have to clock in? Nope. Do you have to clock out? Nope. In education, you're a professional. If I say you're taking this clinical, you're gonna go there for 5 days, and you have a 12-hour clinical, and your faculty are the ones who have said, here's all the stuff that goes along with your clinical, our expectation is that you're going to do those hours. Trust me, the students let us know if you left early. The agencies let us know if you left early. And the faculty certainly let me know if their workflow has been disrupted because you haven't done the things that you were supposed to do, okay? So who you contact is really important. And we have it all outlined for you in that faculty course. I'm not sure if it's Marilyn or Gabe who's been adding you guys to it. I think it's Gabe. It's Gabe. Look, he's like, yep, that's me. Okay. But that's really the main updates that we have. Make sure that if you're here on campus, that you do have a badge and a parking sticker. You got to have that parking decal, or our wonderful security will ticket you. They will ticket you. It's like a $50 ticket, I think. And we have employee parking is over there, and it's designated employee. Please try and leave these first ones right here for the students. If we are full on this parking, the lot right across the street is also ours. Their street parking is also available. And we do have security with cameras, so they are constantly watching. So I know sometimes we come in really early or we leave late. We always have security here, students are here. So, but please make sure that we're parking and leaving the spaces for the students. Nothing worse than we took all the parking spots for us, and the fact that the students are late to class because they can't find a spot to park. Not really great. Compliance, the compliance items. The big thing I've got to let you know, if you are in clinical, our clinicals will get dropped if you are not 100% compliant in my clinical exchange 30 days prior to the start of the rotation. Okay, 30 days prior. You have the exact same expectations as a student. Very few organizations other than Banner, you are a Banner employee and you have a Banner rotation, they will go in as long as we know that, and you give Jave your Lawson number. Michelle over at Banner will wipe out all those exam modules. Just one, I just got a little magic button behind the scenes, and she will wipe them out. Everyone else, you have to do them. Every single one of them. You can't use your employee badges if you work at a hospital to get you into the secret back way. How do I know we do that? Because I did it. When I was an adjunct here, I worked at Good Sam, and do you think I wasn't using my badge to get into every locked unit everywhere? Absolutely don't do that, okay? I shouldn't have been doing it. You have to abide by the hospital's rules. We kind of gotten some discussions about the differences, okay? So please make sure, but with compliance, I know, especially with Banner, you don't have to have TV. As a faculty member, you have to have it. We do not have an occupational health here. It is the responsibility and as condition of employment that you maintain all of those records, even if your employer doesn't have them as a nurse, okay? And again, that compliance piece of it, Banner is probably the hardest followed by Dignity, and then Mayo, they will come right in and say, remove them now. If I have to remove a faculty member, that just put every single student at risk. And a lot of times if a faculty member gets removed, we lose the entire rotation for those students. And I don't have anything else. There is literally nothing else that I can do because we don't have a group. And because of these very strict deadlines that the hospitals have for us, so when we start like amping it up, going, look, I really need you to do this, please do it. I only use, as Gabe's going to talk to you about, I send a notification through my clinical exchange. My clinical exchange sends their own notifications to you. And then if none of that works, then I jump into the regular email. If I have gotten to the point where I'm starting to email you at your personal email, we've probably had a lot of times that I've tried to get to you. So please be checking your Phoenix College email. And then also recognize when my clinical exchange, I don't know what you have to do in your personal email if you're forwarding the Phoenix College one like I do, because I don't have time to check into 15 different emails, right? I check into one. Please make sure that you have it starred as a known thing so it doesn't end up in your spam. Nothing worse, I'm going to tell you right now, if the student tells me it ended up in my spam, do you know what I have to tell them? Really sorry that happened. However, you weren't compliant by this time and you get removed. Same thing will happen to faculty. Sometimes I can push the agencies a tiny little bit, especially if you work there, but they're your employee. I know they're compliant. I beg a lot. I prefer not to have to be in that situation, please. And then, yes. Oh, I was gonna say, that teacher never goes out of me. I'm constantly scanning like a bird of prey. Gabe.
Sorry.
Marilyn just did the rapper. Gabe, do you want to talk about files?
Yeah,
Come to us.
it really connects a lot with the compliance piece of this, because
Yes, we're doing the whole thing. This is your world, friend.
thank you. I'm sure you guys get that email from me that's just overwhelming. It has a lot of information in there. And I would say, first and foremost, worry about getting that stuff uploaded into like the NCE platform, the clinical agencies platform, and then get them over to me, because we also keep a physical file that remains locked in Constance's office at all times, and we need that for ASIN, and because they check that stuff out. That's why we need that. We need that on file, and you can just send that to me electronically through email, and that's fine. I'll take care of all that for you. If I'm missing pieces, I can go into MCE and pull it, but it's helpful when you guys just send it to me and get your file started, and we can go from there. With the NCE, we purchased that account for you. So that cost is not on you. As soon as you come through and I get the notification or the heads up from Constance to get you set up with MCE, we'll hook you up with that. And all of that is done through your school issued email address, your phoenixcollege.edu. I know there's been some confusion between the MEID at maricopa.edu. From what I understand, that's kind of like an inactive account. It's kind of like a hold all as a Maricopa employee. But I need that phoenixcollege.edu attached to everything, like MCE and TrackPrac. I get that information, and all communication between us should come through your phoenixcollege.edu email as well. But yeah, we purchased that for you, and when you agree, get things uploaded into MCE immediately and then send them to me. I would say MCE first. That's most important, because like Constance was saying, we can lose clinicals and then that causes a bunch of issues. But yeah, I know it's an overwhelming email, but there's time. There's 30 days to get all that information to me. And I would say 100% of you are good at keeping up communication with me, which is amazing. And thank you for your patience and me getting back with you as well. Does anybody have any questions about things that get sent in electronically from that email?
Does it matter if it's PDF, JPEG, like
PDF's appreciated. That's easy to upload.
Named,
What's that?
named.
Named, yes, yeah. It's also cool to set up your phoenixcollege.edu website, or not website, but your email with like your signature line as to who you, like your title, your full name and all that as well. That makes it good for students as well, makes it easier for students that communicate with you too. Any questions? All that? Because it's a lot of information I know that comes at once. Don't let it be overwhelming, just let them come in. And it's something too that we try to keep up with yearly. Try to stay on top of it yearly, put in transcripts, unofficial transcripts that come through, anything that changes on your CV, your resume, definitely shoot those over as well. Just, certain certifications that come through, that's updated, send them to me as well.
Professional
Yeah.
development.
Professional development. Edu 250 is due within 2 years of employment. It's the
EDU 250 is the course that all faculty, residential and adjuncts are expected to have. You can get a tuition waiver. So one of the perks of being an adjunct is the tuition waiver for any course at Maricopa. You would simply have to pay like a course fee if it existed. So you want to go and do ceramics. You can do ceramics as long as you are working. There is a form you can fill out to get that tuition waived. So this course is not going to be something that you have to pay for. We still will pay for it through the tuition waiver process. And the tuition waiver is on the Maricopa's website. And then it just does have to come to me for signature. So it's a dynamic form, you fill it out, it comes to me, I sign off on it, but it has to be in that file, or HR will send us a nastygram. Used to come to me and I'll just forward it to Gabe and Gabe will be all over it.
And they do offer it online, so they have the person and online.
No questions?
questions.
How
Yeah.
long is this course? It's like 7 weeks, it's not.
It's not terribly intense. Like I said, most people take the online and it's asynchronous.
Yeah. I
So-
did it last summer. And it was pretty cool.
It's very straightforward.
Easy A, y'all. Easy A.
So we go online and have to sign up with this class and take it?
You have-
Within 2 years.
Within 2
Yeah.
years, you must take it. It's a condition of employment.
It's just like if you were a student.
Yep.
Register for the class.
Yep. But if you're going to use that tuition waiver, like I said, no sense in paying for it when we'll pay for it. But you have to get the tuition waiver. You have to fill it out and then it pushes it to me for signature. Because I have to verify, yes, you're working. No, you're not just randomly coming in and signing up for EDU 250 because it sounded fun.
You know, with all the extra time y'all
Yeah.
have in your schedules, right? Like people are in DMP programs, like this is a very active group. People are in master's programs right now, and we totally understand and respect that. It's just something that we have to get done, so we get it. But it really is quite benign. All right, so I'm gonna jump in here.
I just want,
Oh,
is
go ahead.
anybody having any issues with getting into Canvas or their email or anything right now? Everybody's,
I think mine still has me set up as a student, but I'm working on that.
okay, because I know there
Still has
was
me as
some
PC
issues
or like
that,
Snow vice president, and I'm like, no, we
Yeah.
can get that off there.
Yeah,
and
so
if you guys are having any issues with that kind of stuff, just definitely reach out to me.
I'll reach out to you.
Okay.
It's just that I'm trying to set it up in Outlook so I can get the emails as they come in.
Okay,
Just that keeps doing it based on my Maricopa ID number. Would not let me set up Phoenix College there. But it wouldn't let me.
yeah. Anytime you've got multiples or were a student or it's a nightmare and it becomes Gabe's nightmare.
yeah. Student, married name, maiden
Oh, I've
names,
got all of
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Sometimes he has to go in and work with IT to get it.
Oh, okay.
I'm almost 100% success rate at this point.
And so far so good. They've been working with me, Audrey, you guys probably been working with Audrey, and yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting through it. They're probably like, why do you guys keep coming back?
Marilyn?
Yep. All right, guys, so a lot of what,
You're gonna see me all over them about this miking thing. This comes from their in-class evaluations when there are a ton of students here and you're in that back corner and someone taller is in front of you, it blocks the sound, you can't hear it, and they don't believe me.
you want to hear it, like, because I believe in broadcasting your shade, right? So the students, right, I'm sitting here with the students in the class and I'm like, hey guys, so, Constance, just so you know, we're in professional development always. We take your feedback. I've talked to a lot of new people about our culture at PC. We need the students to understand how to advocate with us if they're going to be able to advocate. So this is kind of like their practice. So I'm like, guys, you want to hear about how the department chair holds me accountable? And they're like, what? So my eval, 5 years in a row. No, 3 years in a row. Please wear a mic. And I'm like, I'm from New York. Y'all can't hear me in the back. And they start laughing. And then so I start saying, please, if you can hear me, and I start making all the P's and the H's real hard, and they're all, I'm like, you guys want me to take this off? They're like, yeah. I'm like, score, the students requested it.
But
Sounds like you are my favorite.
it helps you to modulate so you're not talking so big outside where people think you're yelling at them. Oh.
So I have yielded, but I thought it's a fun icebreaker with the students to get them to laugh and
Yeah.
relax and understand where they're a team member. So the faculty course has gotten a little bit of a refresher. Just want to let you know that everything that Constance and Gabe spoke to is in this course. There is a little navigation video that we put in at the end of last semester. I'm mindful of all of our new folks joining us. So if you forget where to find stuff, you can always rewatch the video. It's like 15 minutes or 20 minutes. But essentially you can go in through any of these quick links. All right, so faculty onboarding, just want to remind you that this is where you can find your checklist of things to get done. All right, so you can see which email to use, how to log in, health and safety file, Canvas training, everything that you need on there. Okay, there's a lot of commonly asked questions from new adjuncts, so this is a really good little link to go to. I'm not going to reiterate the video because you guys can all watch that, but I know that there was some, I saw some squished eyebrows around the EDU 250 course. So I'll make sure to put this isn't really a faculty course for learning, it's a repository of information. So we're not expecting to like teach you the art of teaching in this course, it's where you find your resources. So the couple pieces that I do want to highlight is your checklist as a newer faculty and all residential faculty too. We asked to complete this to make sure everybody's on the same page. Okay, we did talk a little bit about the arbitrary hierarchy between adjunct faculty and residential faculty. We don't believe in that here. You guys are our team members, so please know that you can make suggestions. You can see things, you can say, hey, the students are having trouble with this. I'm an educator for a hospital system. This is what we do here. We want to collaborate with you so that we can, partner. We want you to present at this all faculty meeting, okay? This faculty workshop, all right? Part of our ACEN accreditation is demonstrating that we're doing continuing education with you. So if you have a topic you're super passionate about, we want you to present. Okay, we want our students to recognize that your authority is the same as ours. So we don't defer. Well, I know you were sick, but let me talk to your residential faculty about it. No, you know the rules, you write the learning contract and you hold them accountable because we need that real-time accountability to help to change the behaviors. Or most importantly, because we're not trying not to be, what's the word? When you're like constantly on top of people.
Micromanaging.
Not micromanaging, punitive. When they get sick, like how are we raising them as nurses? And please don't say baby nurses, they're adult learners. So we're trying to break out of those habits as well. If we're expecting them to rise, we want to address them in that regard. Some of our students are professionals with PhDs from other fields. So to call them a baby nurse is kind of disrespectful, but I know that's kind of a cultural habit. So just something to be mindful of. So we want you guys to hold them accountable, okay? For additional resources, because now you've met all of the faculty, you're going to be prepared. Go
There's
ahead.
one that came in.
Oh, Karen, I thought I saw Karen. Yes. Let me bring you the mic for the folks online. We've been having some audio issues. Yes. Yes. And if you want to come over, the camera's pointing right there. You look fabulous, by the way.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Karen Hobbs. This is my second semester here at PC, but I've been teaching block 1 and dabbling in other blocks for 15 years now. I've had some of you as students. And now I run into people in the grocery store and I'm like, were you a student or are you my neighbor? So, but my background is med surg. I'm one of the crazy people that's been a med surg nurse for my entire career. And I'm currently working on my doctorate on my EDD at the University of Alabama. So I love talking about teaching strategies and brain science and stuff like that, and how to have students help retain information and stuff like that. I've learned a lot. I love putting it to good use. So I am happy to, if you ever have questions, even if I'm not teaching your block and you're just looking for some ideas for post-conference or something, please feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to give you some ideas with that. So thanks for having me.
Okay, so on that note, we absolutely love ideas for post-conference. If you have one, we do want you to partner with faculty though, because every assignment that we have for clinical is aligned to a course outcome. So you can't just change stuff, drop it, add new things in. You can't create assignments because we try to create equity between our two cohorts. So if you want to do a post-conference, please partner with the faculty under which the clinical would be in, or a lab. You see a skill that students are having trouble with, partner with us and we can create it together, okay? So if you'll notice in the faculty course, every single block is listed with what the experiences are. The faculty have put in all the instructions for the semester on where to find. I always just go to OB because it's ours here for block 3. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Sometimes you got to pep talk with technology. So it has the information for clinical, for lab, for simulation, and then it has videos associated with that talk you through the directions. You have to come prepared to your experiences because it makes the students, you don't grade the students the same if you're just kind of jumping in and you reviewed it 15 minutes before you showed up. Please reach out to us. It's always posted if there are any changes, no later than 1 week prior, because we know how busy you are again. So please make sure you review everything before you come in and you reach out to the faculty so that you know, we know if you have any questions, okay? One of our online folks, Raina, requested a contact list. So we're gonna go ahead and provide that for you so you know who you're calling for what, okay? That way you can reach out, but please don't do it the night before because we're busy too. So if we give ourselves a couple weeks, everybody knows what their assignments are for the semester. So let's go ahead and be proactive about that and then get you connected so that the students are getting evaluated at the same level, okay? One of the worst things is we got some students that I like to call a little slippery, and they kind of play games with the boundaries and play games with the rules, and they push because they know you might be new. And we want to make sure that we discourage that and that we hold them to the same level of accountability. So I want to be mindful. We have a guest speaker here, and checking the time frame, I'm going to have Josefa, if you want to present your portion now, and then that will segue to Chris. And then again, I'm available for anybody with onboarding questions. We just got back on Monday, so I know that a lot of people's emails went active over the break. So I'm going to be hitting emails and sending you more information today. Okay, today is my onboarding day. Had to get some other stuff situated. All right. Bienvenido, Josefa. All right, so I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint, and again, information. But you guys will be twinning and winning. There you go. Let me back. 2 hands. My glasses are in the way. Chris, do you need to log into anything right now while she's talking?
I think so. I think I'm just gonna jump on the internet.
Perfect. Okay.
So my part is, gonna work with track, so, which is what everyone's gonna be using to evaluate their students. In clinical, some simulations, things like that. And for those of you, who went to Maricopa School, if you remember way back when, they used to do it in paper, so the professionalism, safety, evidence-based practice, all that list of 10 essays is all in track. However, with the track system, we also use student learning contracts, and those are when students are, you know, depending on what's going on, instead of doing the evaluations, you would do a student learning contract. Or you would do a student learning contract in addition to their evaluations, depending on the situation. So if the student has an absence, you can't evaluate them for that day, right? So you can go into your track for that student and say, unsatisfactory for everything, because how did you evaluate for everything if they were not there, right? So then in that case, we do a student learning contract found in the track system. The other would be if they were if they were tardy, that would still need an evaluation, and that would be unsatisfactory for professionalism, and that's whether they're you know, they are late, they let you know, it's still unsatisfactory because they were late. You would then also have to initiate a student learning contract for that. So the other reasons would be uniform violations. So they have acrylic nails, if they have I'm trying to think of all the uniform things that could occur.
Put me in, coach.
Hair down, oh yeah.
Put me in, coach.
Like, you know, jewelry, piercings,
Hair down.
hair down.
The ponytail that's like sweeping like a beautiful caballo in the winds, right?
If they're wearing a
Hoodies.
non-approved, you know, like jacket or whatever, if they take it off and don't put it on again, I guess you can, make that judgment, but, so to know, more about all the uniform violations, that's in the nursing, student handbook that you can find on the Canvas course that she just showed, so to know exactly what it is. The other things would be, any, breaking of professionalism, so cussing, constantly on their phone where they're not supposed to be, like here in the lab or Sims, whatever, in clinical, they already know that most facilities don't want them to be on their phones out in the stations. They have to, if they need to use their phones, they would have to be in a non-patient area, the break room, right? Other things would be any instability. And with all these student learning contracts, you'll have there is an option where you select their instructors, their lead instructors, so that they can get that notification, but also let them know that they're gonna be getting one. Any questions on those student learning contracts? So
They're like, no, I don't even know what one is yet.
we'll go through them. But it's completely different than a summative formative evaluation. And so you just have to know when you need to initiate one, for whatever reason you do. And knowing that if it's a complete absence, then they don't get a summative formative, they just get the student learning contract. Any questions? Yes.
If we have a question about that process, who would we reach out to like first?
The first thing is your student handbook,
Mhm.
because you have to, when you write a learning contract, include the subject matter from the handbook directly into the learning contract. Then you want to let your block faculty know for whatever block you're working with.
Yeah. So like if you have a question like the student is wearing a, piercing, but they're able to take it off, but you probably don't need to write one, right? But how to initiate one, you can probably let any of the block instructors know, and they know how to say them. And I have a handy little paper that I can email to everyone that shows step by step what you have to do. Well,
We posted in the faculty course.
yes. Yes.
My question was actually kind of related to that. So I know Misty sent out like an example of like the tardy or the absence for the learning contract. Can we post that into the faculty page so that?
Yeah, we just asked Misty if we can do it. Yeah. Yeah, if you ever want to use somebody's stuff, just make sure you ask in writing. It's just, common courtesy and, we want to honor everybody's work that they've put into stuff, okay? So that we give them honor with that.
Any other questions? If in doubt, always look at the handbook and say, okay, maybe this is a violation of something that I have to start a student learning contract. And it's not to be, punitive in a sense where, say they're tardy one time. That just lets us keep a record. Like if it becomes habitual, then we're gonna have all that paperwork to go back at. But if, an adjunct here forgets to do a SLC on someone, and then the next semester, they continue to have those problems, how are we gonna know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, we also identify students in need with these behaviors. If a student's absent, like we've had students, and I'm telling one of your stories, Constance, I gotta give you credit. One of our students was in the middle of a really ugly divorce and the partner took the books and burned them. Right? And so we've had students that are homeless, students, the cars break down. Like we want to know if they're late, it's not because usually maybe they overslept or there was an accident or something happened, but we have found so many student needs, you would be shocked just by asking a couple of questions whenever there was a violation of some sort. So
Please don't jump to punitive
yeah,
immediate, like, I'm sorry, I show up and I've got my
Thank you.
facial piercing in. Nobody did that to me. I did that to myself, right? That's different. But if they're late, things like that, like sometimes if they look disheveled with another one, they were homeless. They had one set of scrubs. That is something, please reach out to us because I will go in there and give them some scrubs that we have in that back room and here. There shouldn't be a barrier to them to be able to be a part of this program. And some of them we can bridge. We can. If there's a known situation, the first thing would be the faculty associated with that, whatever it is. So if you're in clinical and say it's a critical care one, right? You would contact Jill, or if Jill is not here for some reason, you can go to Eric. And if they ever have a question on what the next steps are, they will come to me. But please go to the faculty because they may already have something that they have started in place. We have care alerts here. And so some of our students who are in need of resources, we have actually already put in these care alerts that connect them with our counseling department so that counseling can start mobilizing the resources that may be available, either financial, et cetera, that they may need. And we have one more person. Misty, can you say who you are?
Hi, Misty Marshall. Walk 2.
I told her this didn't work if she didn't come. Doing other work. I know.
All right, are you ready for me?
Yes.
All right. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. I'm Krista Lord from TrackRec. So I'm going to walk you through that learning contract and kind of explain some tips and different things that you can do with that. We also have a document built into the system. And as I was thinking too, if you want examples of your learning contracts within TrackRec, we can always put them under the rubric tab And we can upload them in here so that they can easily get to them within their access to if you need us to. Just let us know. All right, so are all of you familiar with TrackPrac mostly? No, okay. So let me explain what TrackPrac is. TrackPrac is short for tracking practice. So it's a system that allows you to monitor evaluations, manage evaluations, submit evaluations, learning contracts, anything that's related to the clinical progress for students is inside TrackPrac. So you're able to submit your formative evaluations to the students each clinical day. And then the students will acknowledge them after the end of that clinical day, and then you'll begin the next day and so on and so forth. So all the students are inside the system. And then if you have a learning contract, you can submit it within the TrackPrac system. It goes immediately to the students where they have to see it, acknowledge it. And then you can also copy other lead instructors or instructors that need to know that you've started a learning contract. That way they are notified immediately. So you don't have to make any calls or manual communication. You can all do it within TrackPrac. Okay. So do you want me to just go through the learning contract, not the evaluation part? Okay, perfect. All right. So within TrackPrac, you'll all have a login for TrackPrac. If you haven't received that yet, I would highly recommend to just go to our chat. These guys are here for you. They're live chat. It's not a bot. It's in the bottom right corner of trackprac.com. Okay, so if you're new and you don't have a TrackPrac account yet, or you're not sure, go to the chat in the bottom right corner. I'm trying to get my cursor here. There we go. And they are there. Just tell them that you're a new adjunct from Phoenix College and you just want to make sure you have an account. They will look in the system to make sure you have an account, make sure you verified. When I say verified, all we do is we send an email link to you to set up your password and verify that link. Okay. Once you do that, you'll be able to log into TrackPrac. Okay. So that's all you need to do. That'll be easy. Just go directly to our help and they will help you get your account. Okay. All right. So, and then the way to find our website is just trackprac.com. Don't forget that second R. Everyone always forgets the second R after the P. So trackprac.com. All right. So when you are going to do your learning contracts, all of those are going to be under the evaluation tab. So just think I'm evaluating students. I need to go under the evaluation tab. A lot of instructors want to look under that student tab and you really don't have to. So you'll be going under the evaluation tab. Okay. This is also where your formative will be too. So everything's under there. When you go to the very bottom, you're going to see that student learning contract. Okay. This is where it is. These are refreshed every semester. So you won't be able to see learning contracts from fall because we archive those and put those away so that there's no bias to begin the semester. Okay. So if the student is being put on a learning contract, you do need to specifically be assigned to that block just to set up that for FERPA reasons, because you're submitting a behavioral contract to the student. So you need to be assigned specifically to that contract or to that course. So whatever block it is, if you're block 2, you got to be assigned to block 2 to create. Okay. So when you go in, all you're going to do in the top right corner, you want to set up a new learning contract. You're going to hit create new learning contract. Okay. And this form is going to come up for you. All of the block 2 students, if they're assigned, will be listed in here. I'm in a practice account right now, so this is not PC's account. Okay. So those students will be listed here by first name. And we do that for a reason, for security purposes, for hacking reasons. So that's why they're by first name. So then you'll find the student, select their name. The date initiated would be most likely today, or if it was yesterday, you can select yesterday. Okay. And then the course. So that would be the course number, whether it's nursing 172, 152, etc. So I'm just going to put that in. Okay. And then step 1, it's going to say this is the only chance where you have an option to copy other instructors in that course. If you want to copy the lead on this or any other clinical instructors or lab instructors that need to know about this learning contract, this is where you would start putting in their name. So if you want to put in Marilyn's name, I have copied her on all of those. No, I'm kidding. So just any, they're all yours. So no. So you'll just put in their name, start putting in their name, and you'll see other names show up in that list. Okay, I don't have any other instructor names in here. So you'll just start putting in names and then select their name, and that will copy her or him on that specific learning contract. Okay. The next part of this, so all you're gonna do in the initial part of this is step one. Once you complete step one, it's gonna go over to the student in step two to respond with their self-improvement plan and what they plan to do. Okay, so in step one, you're gonna choose the expected date of this result or outcome. So if that's the end of the semester, you can choose that particular date, or if it's in March, you can choose that date, whatever date that is that you expect them to improve this situation. The next three boxes are listed as such. Initial and ongoing opportunities for performance improvement. So if it's uniform, behavior, whatever it might be, put in that opportunity. And then the reflection from the student handbook. So go to that student handbook, copy and paste that specific objective and put it in this box that you need to. And then the action plan, including dates, what they need to do to improve or progress. Okay, so that's all you're doing in step one. Once you put that in, and I'm just going to put X's for this purpose. Okay, once you put in all those boxes, you've copied that other instructor, you can hit submit. As soon as you do, it goes immediately over to the student. It identifies or notifies them. They'll have it in their app and on the website. Okay, they will see that they have a learning contract. They will also get an email notification, and then they will need to respond. Up until and actually beyond, if you ever need to add additional comments for the student and keep this learning contract progressing, you're going to always put it in step one. Does that make sense? So continuing to show the progress and what the student is doing throughout that learning contract, always put it in step one. So what I always recommend, and what our team will probably recommend on chat, is that they'll tell you to put in the date. So if you're adding another comment to those step one boxes, just always put the date. So what is today, 11? 23, and then put your initials. Okay, so put your initials in and then start typing your comments. You can keep adding to those same block or step one boxes until this contract is completed. So you just keep adding to those boxes, and every time you do, then hit submit again, and it will go over to the student again. So they will see every time anyone or any instructor adds a comment in step one for them to read. Okay, makes sense? Okay, then once the student responds and puts in their comments, and if you feel like it's completed, the learning contract is completed, then you can put in the final outcome in step 3 and then choose the progress. So instead of in progress, you may choose successful, unsuccessful, and then submit, whichever one it is, okay? Once you do that though, it does close it and automatically sends it to the completed tab. And I'll show you where that is. So learning contract up here under status, all of them will remain in ongoing during the semester, but once you complete that step 3, it will move over to completed and you'll see it in here. That way you know you finished it for the semester. Does that make sense? Okay. So as long as you keep it in that step 1 and keep adding comments to there, you can add your progression notes all the way through and then resubmit it to the student each time. Okay. Yeah, for sure.
This is more guided towards the,
Yeah.
anyway, is it common practice just to keep it open for the entire semester and close it out at the end? Okay.
It is for us simply because we had a student that liked to take smoke breaks during clinical. And so like there were multiple coaching moments that escalated to constants multiple times. So ultimately the student was unsuccessful because of missing clinical time, and there was a lot of other issues happening. So we needed that progression. And that's why when we give a student, you know, any track prac evaluation, we can't wait until 3 weeks after the semester's done. I mean, after the clinical is done, or the lab or the simulation, that has to be in as soon as possible. We give the grace of 48 hours simply because we know some of you go to work the next 3 days. You come in, you help us out. Maybe you'll jump in when you hadn't planned on originally. And we just appreciate it so much. It's just that we need that. What we found is that we end up having to chase people the last 2 weeks of the semester to get their information in. And that is not honoring the students' right to informed coaching, and doesn't give them the ability to respond. And then they don't even remember what happened because they're so overwhelmed. So we really need track pracs, learning contracts, all of that done as close to real time as possible. Okay. I know for us in Block 3, we actually have a page that we give to the students that shows them exactly how many they need to have had filled out by the end of the semester. And we even put track prac check-ins every 4 weeks. Is your track prac updated? Is all your stuff graded? If not, please reach out to your faculty. Okay, so this is kind of like a thing that we really need to lock down, which is something that has been a moving target for many semesters, especially with COVID, with everybody taking extra work. Okay, any questions about that expectation? Because it's kind of a hard line that we really need to set now and, you know, just kind of hold each other accountable with it.
I'm sorry, I walked into this. I'm like, I walked out, it was all light and brevity, I come in and it's this.
No, it's about real-time documentation with track, prac, and learning
Oh, yes,
contracts.
yes, ma'am.
So you see, the chop, it's the chop. Yeah, that's, I reserve the chop for like serious stuff.
So is this for all evaluations, even if the student has no issues?
Yes, for all, yeah, because we do evaluations for every clinical and simulation experience, and depending on the lab, there might be some evaluation there, depending on what the faculty have created.
Okay, so regardless if the student created an issue, we still do it.
Yes, yeah, because you want to give them feedback every single clinical and what you observe, areas of opportunity, things like that.
You don't mean learning contract though, do you?
Sorry, what was that?
You don't mean add a learning contract for every situation?
Yeah, so I was just wondering if I do that for all students regardless.
No,
of
no.
if the student's creative or not.
There's a separate evaluation, and I partner with Chris on how you guys can do asynchronously your orientation to track prac. So there is directions, a website, videos, all that, so you can learn how to use track prac and put in evaluations for every single clinical. Thank you for asking that clarifying question. Every clinical, every simulation. Then the learning contract, this piece is for violations or trends of behavior. Like say they keep coming late to clinical, we need one of these every single time they're late.
Okay.
Does that make sense, the difference? Yeah. So I know, again, many of you got like officially hired over the break. So if you have access to this, you'll want to go to start here and just start systematically going through. And Chris, you know, their team is so good. They answer questions like this. They're amazing. Yeah, unlike
We are
other
training some new ones, so that might be a little bit slow, but
Yeah.
we're
Yeah, no, you guys are phenomenal.
yeah, so to your question, yes. So under the evaluation tab, there will be a separate evaluation listed under here for each block in UR 152, 172, et cetera. That's your formative that you will enter every week, and it's super quick. But your learning contract is only for exceptions.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see, going back to learning contract real quick. If you decide that you added this learning contract, you really don't need it, or you talk to the lead, you don't need it, just jump on chat, tell them to delete it, and they will ask you to confirm a couple of things, and then they will delete it for you, so it's gone. Okay. If you want to hide it, maybe you think maybe the student is there, but you want to just hide it, put it away for now, and maybe come back and revisit it if it happens again. That's what the green add to archive is. That just hides it and moves it over here under archive. That just means it's hidden out of view and not visible to anyone else right now. It's just hidden. To bring it back out of archive, then you would just simply pull it back out. So I'll go back over here and show you what that looks like. So if I want to add this to archive, I'm just hiding this. It'll ask you to confirm. It'll be over in the archive under status, and then remove it from archive, and it'll pull it back out under ongoing. Okay. Oh, I'm on the wrong folder. There we go. So it's back in. But if you want it deleted, you'll need to reach out to our chat team and they'll delete it for you. Okay. We do have these instructions under your name at the top right corner. Go under Learning Center. Click on Instructor. Step-by-step guide. We have a ton of instructions in here. But right there in the second row, steps to start a student learning contract. Click on that. And there's a PDF document that gives you steps and screenshots of everything, okay? So that's there as well. Also under the Learning Center, since this came up just a minute ago, under the student, we have a student checklist. And this is kind of nice to remind students what they will do with track prac ongoing, what they do daily. because they need to check in for their skills or check in for clinical and add their skills and submit that to their clinical instructor. And they also need to acknowledge their clinical evaluation each time, so they have that up and current. And then weekly, if they want to just check to make sure they have all their hours and or clinical dates in there. And then end of the semester, they can run reports and have report of all their hours and all their skills logs. Okay, so that's in there too, under student. Anything else? No?
That's always
Yeah,
so
of
appreciated.
course. Thank you all. Appreciate it. If you need any help, like I said, just go to chat. They will help you. They will direct you. If they don't have the answer, we will email you all the steps or videos that you may need. Okay. All right. Thank you for your time and best wishes to all of you. Do we just, I guess I'll close this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, no, you're good. You're perfect.
Delete it all.
You do have to give up the Britney Spears mic.
all right. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. We'll see you tomorrow. right?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
Sounds good. Some things that people ask too is, are the students aware of all of this? We bring every single student in block 1 and all of our advanced placement and transfer students come into a full orientation to all of our resources. They also had an orientation in what month is it? In December, to kind of teach them about compliance and our expectations as a program, our hybrid environment. Like we have a whole program we put them through. So they're aware of all of this, okay? So if they tell you they don't know, and then they also have a student course that has all of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and give us a 10-minute break. Sound great? And we'll see you, go ahead.
Sorry, I may have been late to the game, so you may have already said this, but did you share with everybody that we do have templates for the learning contracts, so they don't have to just randomly?
We were going to ask you to share.
Okay. I did. You told me.
that it has to do with.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you need me to do? I know I shared them with all of our full-time.
We just want to put it in the faculty course that already has access to it. So we'll find a spot to put it in.
Okay, but if they're absent, if they're late, if they violated something like in the uniform, professional appearance guidelines, it's like a Google Doc that you can just kind of cut and paste into the track and it aligns with like the KSAs and all of that stuff, so you're not just randomly selecting.
Okay, so we'll give, yeah, the handbook part. And there is an updated handbook that came out November 22nd. So I do have to upload that as well. But please take a break, 15 minutes, not 10, because I feel like people are like, whoa. So we'll see everybody back at Maryland Math. 10:10. We'll do that, 13 minutes. Whatever. We're using the speaker because our speakers are not working.
Fun. All right. So we've got some fun things to share. I'm gonna squish this down.
So you need to, in case somebody asks you a question.
Oh, yeah. But
Yes, ma'am, whatever you need, I'll get out the way.
I'm like, I can't see that over there. All right, so that one's not showing there. So
See there,
that's
Karen?
good. Okay. So simulation, there's lots of different things happening in the world upstairs and getting us all online. So grand plan in a few years is that we will have national accreditation for our simulation program. Okay, so that is the where we're headed and why some of the things have changed. First step, we actually have a dedicated simulation coordinator. So that is my actual role. One of the nice things, we are actually we are the only college in our system right now that has that as a dedicated role. So that's going to put us on track for that to allow us to work through all of these processes. The next piece of that, simulation is its own beast, which all of you that have been doing some sims and things probably have gotten a sense of that already. There's also very specific science and research and things that have gone on with simulation in the past 10, 15 years. So we actually have our own bank of knowledge and information to guide best practices. So we have to make sure everybody is knowledgeable about those best practices and utilizing them in the right way to ensure that we're getting the best outcomes for our student.
I do have to make one announcement. I'm sorry, guys. Some people, when we interviewed, are like, I am not doing simulation. I don't like it. We understand why are you still here? Because the principles that she's talking about with evaluation are still applicable at the bedside.
Mhm.
Creating a contract or a plan of remediation for a skill, the principles of how to do that are in simulation. Okay, so please don't tune out. Friends online, if you don't like simulation or you have no plan to do simulation, that's okay. If you just love clinical, but all these principles still apply for that student education, scaffolding, retention of information, demonstration, all of that applies. Okay, so just wanted to plug that there in case anybody was like, I'm not doing that. Okay, we get it. You don't want to do it. We love it, but just please stay present because the principles that she's speaking to are very, very helpful in clinical.
So, and that is part of, so everyone, there's certain courses of certain portions of that education that everyone will do because of that. So we have, of course, the big simulations, which you may or may not be signing up for, and that's fine. Labs, there'll be some things that are simulation based, even some of the stuff that's in lecture and some of those different areas where we may start getting into, even if you're only doing clinical right now, even clinical, there are components of that that fall into what they call a simulation-based experience. And in order to make sure that we're meeting standards for those, we have to essentially meet the same standards as what we'd be doing with the high fidelity. It's just how do you deliver that and what does that look like? It's a little different depending on the experience. One thing I wanted to point out, a couple changes on the faculty homepage. So a lot of your resources, as you've seen, are in that faculty course in Canvas. When you click on the simulation button, and there will be a lab button that will show up as well as we get our new lab instructor and our lab tech in and really moving through some processes. So there will be more that will pop up there for you guys to have resources for. Of course, who I am is at the top, but our training plan is there. So Sim 101, everyone has to do, and really that one is still more of an orientation and an overview to the program and where our resources live and kind of a big base. 102 is coming. So those of you that have finished that 101 course, awesome, thank you for working that. You will, if you are like, what is that? I don't know what that is. I don't populate that course for you until we've done the Sim needs survey. And then that one will populate and it'll show up for you in your Canvas course. It's not that long. You'll work through it. There is a hands-on component that we have you guys come in and we look at the nursing and mannequins that are in the lab. So that way, if you're helping in any other labs, you know how to use those guys. In 102 is where we really start getting into those deep dive on the simulation standards. What does that mean? An introduction to some of the different terminology, because there is terminology along with that. So there's a little bit of a language change, kind of like when we went from non-nursing people to nursing people. So there's going to be some of that overview and so this one, some of it you'll end up probably having as a review because we're going to show you some of it today too, but how do we do our recording software? How do we use the big mannequins? So we'll get a little more in depth. For anyone who decides they really, really, really love SIM, or you're going to start working with the didactic faculty or myself in developing SIMs, then that's where 103 comes in. So not everyone will actually be doing 103. The other piece of this, though, we have our PC website for the simulation stuff linked there. And this is a new thing. I have open labs for you guys. So anything upstairs, you can come in here. This is an appointment calendar. So I have different times booked out that you can book with me to review any of it. The mannequins, where do you find this? I can't find, how do we use the GAMARDs? Because I have a sim where I signed up for this experience and I don't remember all that stuff that I went through. You can make an appointment with me in those open hour times, and then we can actually go through that stuff here. Make sure you get the extra practice with the stuff you want before those experiences. So that lives on that page. So this course, the 102 course, I'm finishing working on part of the pieces in here. So it's an overview and then a deep dive into pre-briefing and debriefing. And these are those components that get used everywhere, including clinical. There is an art to using both of these, especially that debriefing method. So after you've completed this, over this semester, I will also be coming and doing observations during the experiences to help guide and see how we are utilizing the debriefing and help polish those points. It is not an easy thing to do. It is typically very foreign and weird because a lot of that debriefing is not you talking, which is very weird for us. So it takes a little bit of development and guidance sometimes. It takes most of us really a couple months to a couple years, depending on how often you are doing it, to really get comfortable with those different methods. And there are different methods. So just know that will also happen. So there will be a little evaluation after to help guide and make sure that we are understanding how that works. The open lab office hours. Upstairs, there's a lot of changes happening. We are going to, so by the middle of February, we will be moving from 1 med room to 2 full med rooms and a third area for the peds station that will have a PICSI. So we will have 3 PICSI units upstairs. Everyone gets their own username. So we're trying to create as much realism as possible within the spaces when students are practicing and when we are here on campus. So if it's something we do in real life, we are trying to mimic that here for them. So we have those supply stations out and around, so they actually have to go pick up the supplies from the station and start to develop that muscle memory and memory of, okay, well, I'm gonna do an IV, but I need this 3 things. So I have to go get those 3 things so that we can help bridge that gap between here and then you are out now in the field and wait a minute, where's my stuff? How do I get that? Huh? That happens to them. So there's that piece. That's also part of why we moved from that generic. So anyone that's been here for a while, that had that generic username on the Pyxis, it's gone. The username is going to be the MEID, and that will be for everyone. You guys will also get your own username within that system so that if, sorry guys, I'm the bad patient and I'm off of my singular. Breathing's good. So you will have the ability to refill because the reality is that Pyxis unit will only hold so much meds in the coolie. So we do have a process. It is checked in the morning so we can kind of restock and get that in there. But if you have 40, 60 students here during the day, you may end up needing to refill or go in and help troubleshoot the discrepancies or those random things that happen. So you will have a different level access than the students so that you can have that ability to do that. I will make some videos and stuff of how to use those features for you that will also get posted. So you'll have that as a reference if you've not had to do those pieces before, because it is a different level of access than sometimes even you get on the floor if you use the Pixis currently. The first password is Pixis new. It will always set to that. You will then make your password. Currently, we are using the password. If my understanding is correct, we will be switching to fingerprints. So you'll have to do that whole process. So if you already logged into the computer, the Pixis upstairs, you have your password. If you haven't and you're coming in for something, you can log in. The first one's Pixis new and they'll make you reset your password. You will have to do that again when the new ones come in. I'm sorry. I will send out an announcement. That way you know. But when the new ones come in, it is a new system. It's an updated system. It's part of why we're getting the new ones, because that one is no longer, that unit itself is no longer supported. So, but I will let you know that way if you're coming in for any experiences, you'll know that you need to go in and do that so that you're ready to help troubleshoot if needed. Pixis units. We also have the IV fluid. So there's several things that we are now starting to reuse. The doesn't mean the students have to like keep it in their like bag and just keep reusing it. That realism piece we are reusing, but we are repackaging and reprocessing so that when they pick it up off of that supply station, it's going to look as close to real life as possible so we can help them build that muscle memory of all of those things that we no longer even think about. Like when you pull the tubing out and you pull the bag out and you pull the pieces off and then you're like, okay. So that way they can create that as well. But with that, we have 2 IV carts. So you'll see the carts, if you've gone through the training, you probably saw some of the videos, but they're carts that we pull out. They have pipes and hooks on them, and we'll have bins out. Even in block 1, we are going to reuse those, the flushes and stuff. We'll reprocess those. They're all, a flush is like $3 a piece. We use a lot. We can refill that for like 5 cents and put it in a thingy. So they still have to open a package. So, but with that, what we need them to do is put those pieces in the little buckets. That's their trash. So they're still throwing it away, just not in the trash. Okay, so we'll have buckets out for those little pieces. So that little plastic cap that comes off the flush and the empty flush, we will reprocess it from there. So you don't have to worry about that piece. You just got to remind them to put those pieces in the bucket. Same thing with the fluids. So 2, 3, and 4, we all do IV fluids, whether it's a secondary or primary. The bag goes on the hook. The end of the tubing goes in the bucket and have them unclamp everything. We will drain the bags into there. They will hang on that. We will pull the whole cart in, and there's hooks on both sides of this tube, so you can fill it up. The most we might have to do is, take the bucket and empty the bucket because he got a little full. But that will make that reprocessing easier because we actually are putting each one of those tubes onto an air compressor and drying them out before we start putting all the plastics and putting them back in their packaging. We don't need the packaging. We need the tube and the plastic pieces attached to the tube. So the little end caps and if you're using a primary set, that plastic piece sits on the tube. The secondary is the little plastic hooky thing. So the caps on both ends, little plastic things, those go in a bucket, hang it up. It will magically show up again for you out in the supply station, thanks to our lovely lab people. Miss Lisa's actually been doing a lot of it, and we're hoping to get maybe some federal work study students to help with that. So, but that will make that easier for her than the giant jumbled spaghetti mess of tubes. So she can work just right off the cart. We have 2 of them, so we can move in and out if needed. Or if we have multiple things going on, we can put them in different areas. So we're using all that. Currently, we are still signing out supplies. So currently up in the lab, in the supply room, if for some reason that supply station runs out, which happens, students come over, oh my God, it's empty, real life. It's a great time to have that conversation with them and ask them what they would do in real life. Because we've all had it happen, where you walked into the supply room and you're like, dang it, we used more than they thought we were going to this week. And you got to call supply chain to start getting them to think about that. What would you do in real life? You got to call somebody. You can get the stuff. You just got to call them and have them send it up. And then you can go into the supply room and pull them out and put them in the bucket, but we do want you to sign them out. Currently, I have a QR code on there that's going to pull up a form. You just fill that out. It'll send it to us. We'll keep track. That may also change. I'm sorry. I'm not sure yet how that's going to work. One of the other big changes that's happening up there, for all of you that have been here a while, Miss Lisa, I know for sure is going to be yay about this. Currently, right now, we have the entire upstairs being wired for cameras and recording. So we have that functionality going in every single room, every single lab bed will have the ability to be recorded. With that system also comes a whole other system that includes supply and inventory management, the room calendars, a bunch of stuff. So I will be sending out information about that in different training pieces. I am going to demonstrate for you guys. We have one camera up because we had a room that they placed in first so we could try and play with it beforehand. We just weren't ready for hands-on for everybody else yet. Still, they're going to be putting all those cameras online later. So the supply piece and sign out and how that looks may change because there's apps that they have with the system. It can do a lot. I just haven't quite gotten confirmation on how that's going to work. So, but either way, it will be posted. So it's still going to be something that'll be posted in there. So you don't have to worry about, oh my God, I have to remember this right now. It's all over in the supply room. Just please make sure we know what you take. That is the big thing. We're trying to keep track of what we are using so we can get some good numbers on that to be able to report to financial and justify what we're doing with our students and why we are spending these things. Because let's be real, for every IV catheter that gets removed out of there, that is how many times somebody has practiced an IV catheter. If I get more on that, then that'd be great, but that's one piece of it. Now we're gonna try this and see how this works. I'm gonna remote into that computer upstairs. So in the driver rooms, we have 2 monitors still. The mannequins in those big high fidelity spaces. I can't walk and chew bubble again with this password. Oh, okay. On those driver stations, you're gonna see so we still have the headphones. We also have a desk mic. So there's a couple different pieces there. So there will be some hands-on training sessions available once I actually have access to the entire session and room up there. Anyone who's doing the safety sim next week, please come in early. Because those all have to be recorded. And I was trying to get your training done this week, but it's just unfortunately with the setup and how they've moved through, I can't have you up there. There's still boxes everywhere and they're not all online yet. So, but I will be here in the morning to help arrange you guys to those and get it all working. On each of the control stations, we have 2 icons, the AV control and the AV viewer. These are what we're going to use to start the recording, find where we're going to record, and we can make notes in the recording. So we can even make bookmarks with them. We can pull them up. If we want to, depending on that sim, we can assign it to the student to view. So there's a lot of different things we can do with that. Your username is going to be your MEID. We did get single sign-on, so it'll be the same login information that you would log in onto the computer with. So very excited about that. We didn't have to make you have a whole nother password system for that. Might do, okay, it did close. So it doesn't matter which one of them you open first. It does take a minute sometimes. You will end up using both when you're recording. Which is part of why we have the two screens. So I'm gonna try to show you on one screen. So this is the AV controller. It pops up with whatever area we have loaded. So you can see the different beds. So we have 8, there should be 8. I talked to him. This is the peds room. Some of them aren't quite set up yet. So we'll have zones that you can click on and then you can find find it there. If you want to go over to the viewer, you actually just have to click this little thing. Once you've opened one, you don't have to sign into the other to open it up, which is nice. So you can get them both open without having to sign in on both. Let's see if he's gonna play. There we go. So, and then if you're in viewer, it has the thing there to toggle back, but you can also see at the bottom of the screen, it's got both windows. So I can get into here and view the different beds as well. Sorry. There we go. So the AV viewer is where the bookmarks are. So right now this is on bed 5. We are going to open up the other one. This little corner is where you get that back. But you do have to start it from the control. So we are scheduling everybody into the system. So if the students are scheduled, their names are all going to be in there. You'll be able to go in and find the experience that you're there for the day and the room in the schedule. So I've made a test one. So you can see our person, you can see your learner. So it pops up here if there's multiple encounters for that day. So maybe, you know, you're running 5 people in that room back to back. You'll see each learner, group of learners will be a different encounter. So it'll still mimic the schedules that we pop up where you have this time frame is these 2 people and you're in 212. It'll just be that encounter that starts at 10:30 when you click on that tab, because there will be more tabs here for the other students. Verify your learners, click on the little button, and then the record button pops up. So we hit record. And this sometimes takes a minute. And then when it turns red and you start to see the timer, he's recording. So then you go over to the viewer. And now I have my bookmarks. You can adjust the view and how many views and things you want. So once all the cameras are in there, I can have this at 4 different things. So I can see the bed, the med room, the nurse's station, whatever you want to have on there. And then you can control that camera in a couple different places. We also have some presets. So this is going to be the one thing that we're gonna have to watch with where we set the patients and the beds. So at the end of the day, when you go to like turn everything off, I am gonna ask everyone double check and go onto one of the presets and make sure it actually is in the bed. Because if they move that bed from where I set it, it will go into a different place. So we'll see where they go this morning because the bed's been moved around a lot up there for them to put the other cameras in. So, but we have the IV pump is one that we are making a preset. So you can zoom right in to see what is on that screen. And maybe I want to go a little bit more because I really want to see, what does it say? I can zoom in here. Or is that one the full zoom in? I think that might be all the way in on that one. I just moved, oh, no. So you can zoom in over here and you can really zoom in. We have the arm. So the bed's over a little bit too, I think, but this usually would go to that arm where the IV would be placed. So you can see what they've done. We have a chest. I'm not sure if the chest is gonna stay the preset. We will discuss as a team, but IV pump, the arm, and then we have a wide view. So it pops back out. Does that mean those are the only places you can zoom? No, not at all. You can take this. Like I can even go over here to this bed right now and zoom in. So you have these ones that you can use to control it, or on the actual screen, you have the angles and then the zoom out and the zoom in. So you can all over the place to see what's happening with that. The thing with the bookmarks, it's nice. So they have some basic ones up here. So question, no, yes, timing, comment, critical thinking. So as you get familiar with those, if you want to use them, you can, or you go add new. Click on that. Did not identify self. Save.
Job scared.
And now we have a timeline. So when they do those things, I can click another thing at 3 minutes in, and it will make a timeline. The other piece where this will be nice as we start getting really familiar and in with the program, some of the debriefing rooms will actually have that ability to see that. When you go to view the recording, the bookmarks will show up at the bottom. So if you need to jump forward to a portion of that sim in the debriefing, or when you're reviewing with students, you can literally click on the bookmark, it'll pull it over to that particular moment in time during the sim. You'll have your note, they can see it, and then we can actually see what was happening within that moment in time. So nice things. It will also capture, so this right now is the vital monitor. So in those high fidelity rooms, so where we've got the Kid Howl, the Susie's, the Howl, all the big Gamard mannequins, we have the vital capture. So the monitor that's in the room that the students see, where we start populating the things, it captures as part of that as well. So if there was a vital sign change they missed, anything, that's still part of the recording. So they'll be able to see all of the components of what was happening within that time if they're reviewing or we're having to review those simulations. When we are done, and you can see right now it's blinking, you can stop it from here. We just can't start it in the viewer. So we hit stop, the bookmarks go away. I have another group coming, and you can see that it's no longer recording on the control side. Now I can click on that next group and we're ready to go ahead and start that. They are all set. Right now we're gonna set them to manually, which means you have to push the button to hit start. We do have the option to have them just automatically start recording, but as we all know, sometimes things don't actually start at the exact moment we anticipate them starting. So I don't know that that will be a feasible function just yet, but it could be. So if we have anything set to automatically record, we'll let you know for those particular experiences. But right now, everything's going to be manually. And the entire upstairs, including the labs, are able to record. Lots of wiring going in up there right now. So that's kind of an overview. We will set up times for you guys to come in and be able to practice and play with the equipment. It's just right now I only have one camera actually functioning, and he needs me to not be trying to use that one all day so he can get the rest of them all set up for us. So, but yeah, that's happening. Questions?
Finally.
I know. This has been a long work in the process.
Long, very expensive.
Yes.
This is $1.1 million worth of
Mhm.
funding that the
Mhm.
district has decided was warranted and supported for our college.
Mhm.
And so it's an amazing system. We're gonna be able to capture a lot of data. As we all know, data drives our decision making.
Mhm.
It's through the data that we capture. It also is super helpful. We have to make sure we're using it. And this is the only part I'll jump in on.
Mhm.
This is a second set of eyes. Everyone will, if you haven't experienced it yet, I'm sorry, I got some. If you haven't experienced it yet, you're going to, where somebody says, I didn't do it, I did that. You just didn't see me. You didn't see me check it off. I'm gonna need you to change that. This is such an amazing thing, because when students need to remediate and you send them their recording and you go, these are the things that we would expect to see for a novice nurse in your block. Go ahead and review it and reflect and tell us what you see.
Mhm.
Show us. And it takes it off of us and it gives it back to them, and it's evidence-based that is a reflective process that our students have to. And you
Mhm.
can't deny if you, especially the big ones, the armband. I checked their armband. Or I listened to their lungs.
Mhm.
Did you? Because I never saw a stethoscope go on anywhere in this general vicinity. Like, I'll give that one to you, but nothing ever went here. And it's just a really wonderful thing. But the big part, it's the reflective process.
Mhm.
It's a reflective process for the students. And quite frankly, it's a reflective process for every single faculty member. You may not realize how you come off until you see yourself on this camera.
Which is also where I'm going to say, we are going to record the debriefings.
Yeah.
So we will record from the beginning to the end of that. So when you get ready to go out, click your button to start, do your initial conversation with the student, the whole sim, and don't turn it off until after the debrief is done. And this is also to help protect you as well. We have had situations where we've had students get very defensive and different things happen during debriefing, where it would have been nice to have had that extra backup for us. The expectation is that if you are doing simulation, this is going to happen. We are going to record everything. As you heard, it's a lot of money. We spent a lot of money and they granted us this funding so we can actually be able to do this. So we will be using it.
Do the students have to sign disclaimers that they know what they're being done?
Yes, and I'm currently double checking because there's supposedly it's used to be in the handbook sign off page. I'm gonna double check and verify that the current signature pages that we get include that. If not, we will fix that. And we'll get that done.
The other thing too is some students would like to say like it's against their right as Americans or whatever. All the hospitals are doing this. Anytime you check off NRP, ACLS, they're supposed to be reporting. So they have to get accustomed to being reported as a part of their training. So that's what I know Banner does it because we all were educators for Banner, and NRP requires it for checkoffs. So it's something that they have to kind of get used to because it's going to happen as a part of their onboarding orientation. The mannequins, all of them will get mannequin training at the hospital, so they can't tell you that they can't assess because it's a mannequin and it's not real life. Because all the academies use mannequins. Mayo, Dignity, Banner, all the major hospital systems have some sort of academy, onboarding, and everybody has to go through SIM. So we have to get them, we have to break up that thing that's not what's happening. We're subjecting them to something that they wouldn't normally experience.
And it is to their, like, it's that messaging too. This could be to their benefit. Maybe I did miss seeing that because I was checking off on another thing. I can go back to that recording and verify what that was.
Karen.
And that they get their actual points and things like that. And Karen, I saw your hand back there.
To the equipment, but
Yep.
since you sent out an updated handbook, the only thing, I couldn't hear the first part of the meeting today, so I apologize. When you sent out the updated handbook, it lended itself to, it was just the uniform part that changed.
That's all I could see in it.
Okay, so I was gonna say, if the wording change for the consent forms, then we probably have to have this.
Yeah.
Redone.
Yep, nope, as far as I could see, it was just more stuff about how you look.
Versus your quality as a human.
Versus your quality as a human, it was more about how you look.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm not a giant fan of that one, but
And then
here we
Misty.
go.
So is our plan to reward even the learning sims that aren't evaluative?
Yeah.
Just across the board,
Yeah.
they're in sim.
Mhm. And then, so there's different ways we can set that up. So like if we wanted to include, even with those learning sims, part of that is that reflective process. If we want to include an automatic send to the student for them to be able to view their simulation and complete a reflection off of that, we can do that. We can set it up so it will automatically send. If we don't have it set to that, then we can later on choose to send it to them so they can view.
How long will you be archiving in case someone comes and fails NCLEX and then wants to blame simulation or something?
Well, I'm looking into the actual standards, but right now I don't, they're archiving until I tell them to stop. We're gonna set those. We get to choose that. It is an on-prem site, so it's our servers. IT can help us with that. We do have support from EMS as well, so there's a couple different ways we can get on-demand help from them to be able to use all of these. They will also be monitoring our cameras, so if anything's starting to get wonky, they may get an alert before we notice that something's wrong. So that it'll be hopefully fixed really quickly too. So we do have a pretty good service contract attached to this install, which is nice. Mhm. Other questions about anything?
A little off topic.
Yeah.
Are the clinical instructors doing the cumulative sim at the end of like their clinicals?
So that may come back now that we have this. I do not believe we have any scheduled this semester. But yes, I do believe we are gonna be looking at that as a potential. Part of that, the reason we had to pull those back, the cumulative sims at the end of clinical, which are really nice, at least I know for me as a clinical instructor, it was nice to actually see your whole process again, because you only get like 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there, when you're spreading out with those 10, it is an evaluative sim. So when it's an evaluative sim, so depending on the type of simulation, that's where some of those standards come in, and you can not have only one person complete their evaluation and grade. You have to have 2 people to do that. So prior to the cameras, that means I would have to physically have 2 of you in that space at that time, watching and grading simultaneously. Now that we have the cameras and the ability to record, we can have you come in with your group, run them through, do their simulation. You can complete your check off and grading with them, and then we can do a second check off and grading, watching the simulation to ensure that everything's all matching. So that may come back. So good question. Other questions, thoughts? Faculty, anything I've missed that I've been yelling at everybody about?
She doesn't yell at us.
I don't yell.
She doesn't yell.
I don't yell, but I do remind.
She strongly urges.
Sharps,
She intensely shadows us.
Remind students, no trash in those Sharps containers, please. There was a lot of trash in the Sharps containers over the last semester, so they filled up with some trash. And I'm pretty sure it's probably the same process as the hospitals, and all that gets disposed of by the pound. And currently they haven't tried to charge us for that yet. However, I would really, really hate for that to come over to us and we're throwing trash in the Sharps containers.
My budget can't handle it.
Yeah, no. There are some different Sharps containers up there, so they are on the walls, but they're a little different. I haven't seen this particular, the piece that goes inside the cabinet. It's got a red flap on it. There's a little toggle on the side of it. Toggle forward, Sharps in, flip it up, it dumps it in there. Do not push that thing back into the Sharps thing. That actually locks it. So it's a little different.
Do you need time in all of our orientations to let folks know this stuff?
I am finishing our little video and I'm gonna send you guys a thing, a PowerPoint you can play whenever you want
Perfect.
during those orientations, because that's all of that in there. Mhm. Yeah,
I'll freeze this tomorrow.
yeah, I'll do that today. It's almost ready. I was just doing our videos for people.
So are we gonna get training on our first schedule simulation or?
So the plan is hopefully you would get your training prior to. However, next week is next week. I can't change that. Come early. If you're scheduled for sim, the safety sim next Thursday and Friday, please come in a little early so we can go through the go through that setup and make sure that you're functioning that all right. I will be there. I'm not running any of the rooms, so I will be able to help troubleshoot and make sure that everything's working for you guys that day. Otherwise, yes, I will be putting out more training. If for some reason those training dates don't work, guys, also remember I have open hours so that you can schedule there as well. So even beyond that, so you do come in, we do some training in the next few weeks, and you don't do a sim for a month, 2 months. Maybe you didn't pick up one this semester. You decide you're gonna go ahead and try one next semester. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. I don't remember how to use any of the stuff. Schedule some time with me individually and we can make sure everything's working for you.
Yeah, outside of this one instance with the technology, we should never be coming in the morning expecting to be trained. Because it completely derails what we're doing as faculty in preparing the students and preparing the space. The time that you come in early before sim or lab is to set up, it's not to learn. It's really very, very disruptive to come in like that. That's why we have the block information, so you can review and ask questions in advance. So please don't come in expecting to be trained that day. Again, this is not, this is just universal messaging based on some shenanigans from last semester. Okay, thanks, guys.
Other questions? All right. That was what I had on here. I was trying not to completely overwhelm, but I wanted to make sure that we kind of go over some of those highlights and what does this thing look like that's going in upstairs.
Cool. So Constance is up next. I'm gonna kind of go over one thing that I know is new.
Go back to your screen, right?
Thank you. With the Canvas course.
Let me fix you.
Thank you.
You want this screen?
Yeah. No, the other one. I just want someplace funny. So share and the PowerPoint one.
That
one. Thanks, friend. Okay, so this is part of our HLC requirement. This is our evaluation process. So let me figure out what all the screens are here for a second and then. All right. So we addressed the pieces around the track tracks. I do want to just kind of touch base. On our CIA assessment submission. Okay, and then you'll be up for the other stuff. So this has been a moving target. We've worked with our, I don't know the name of Ty Wellborn's team again, just the assessment team. Yeah, so what we have to provide for the Higher Learning Commission is assessments that meet, we have 2 levels of outcomes that we meet. We have our student learning outcomes within the course, and then these map to ACID, and they also map to Phoenix College's outcomes for the college. Okay, so for example, one of them would be, we'll say just arbitrarily, culture, right? The ability to navigate different cultures is one of the life skills they learn with their associate's degree. Every single faculty member has to provide this based on an assessment that they have graded, okay? We have been missing the mark and in the red for a couple of years now because there was a discrepancy in them understanding that as adjuncts, because of the master's level requirement and that you're not in the didactic course creating, that you would be required to do this. So we found a middle ground in working with the assessment team for how to mobilize this with people that are not creating the assignments, okay? So the directions and instructions on how that works is here, okay? And as well as who is due to do it when, all right? So because it's the spring semester, okay, it is due for anybody that has a last name N through Z. Okay, the fall is for A through M and the spring is for N through Z. So if your name falls there, please pay attention to the emails that you're getting from Phoenix College because they are providing trainings for you on how to do this, okay? So they have lifted off of us the responsibility of training you on how to meet this requirement for Phoenix College, okay? So remember, we report to 3, we report to the board, we report to ASIN, and we report to the Higher Learning Commission. That's what gives Phoenix College its accreditation, okay? So there's a video here. There are links to the individuals that will help you with this. If you need any guidance with this page because you start getting overwhelmed, just let me know. But essentially, if you just watch the video and click on the links and contact these individuals, they will be doing in-person and virtual trainings. Okay, so I just want to make sure that everybody knows because as we're setting the precedent, behind that comes the accountability pieces for the role. This is a requirement as an adjunct to work for Phoenix College. This is not a nursing thing. This is a Phoenix College thing. Okay, us as residential faculty, we have a additional level of it. We have to do it every semester and at the end of the year. Okay, so the end of the academic year. So please make sure that you do this. And I am working on a page down here. Oops, excuse me. It's on the faculty orientation and onboarding with kind of a semester and academic year expectations so that everybody's clear so that they can get all their check boxes done because we love check boxes. Sound good? All right, so that was the only other thing that I had to cover. So I'm going to hand it over to Constance. At this point, are there any questions about the faculty course while we're here? Again, for people that have been here for a while, you may not have been utilizing this to the full capacity. So please make sure that you kind of get in there and click along. All right. Also, if you identify something you feel like you need as a resource at your fingertips, by all means, please let me know and we'll add it. Okay. Here we go. So going back to our agenda. Make sure we're good to go. Perfect.
Okay, so this is the final one. This is really the big part. This is where students end up in my office or another faculty member's office, upset, happy, crying, in some way, not happy with their life. We all went through school. And how many of you had a faculty member that on your very first day of your first semester of any kind of clinical just said you were satisfactory? You were great. Okay, so in Maricopa, there seems to be this pervasive thing where we have students in block 1, day 1 of a clinical, and they have all S's. S's means satisfactory. And then the next day, they get all satisfactory. Everything's perfect. Okay, block 1. Block 1. And we keep going down this road and all the way through. And then all of a sudden they show up in block 2 and it's all S's. And then they get to block 3 and it's all S's. And then they show up in block 4, which is where I used to live. And their first day, they got an NI or a U even. And they freak out, but I've always gotten S's. It's kind of like I've always gotten an A. Well, somebody didn't do you any favors. S, NI, or U, those are those evaluative terms that we give to students when they're in skills or SIMS or in their clinical day, all right? So we really need to be very cognizant of what that means.
Unsatisfactory, what do you think would constitute as unsatisfactory? Think of unprofessional behavior. There's a great one. So what do you think unprofessional behavior might look like? Being late. What else?
On your phone.
On your phone. What else?
Dress code.
Dress code. What else? How about attitude, right? Think about how some of the students show up. What about things like you're in there standing right next to them? You're like, okay, I'm gonna be furniture on the wall over here. I'm just watching. Okay, you're gonna do your thing, do your assessment. I'm a student. I walk in. Yeah, hi. So I'm just gonna start checking you. Which steps did I miss right out of the bag? Do I even know who this person is? Did I wash a hand? Did I do any of it?
Did you ask for permission?
Yeah, I'm gonna touch you now. All right? That's it. You know, those are coachable moments, but in block 4, that's the end of you're getting ready to become our peers. That's an unsatisfactory. May not be in block 1 when they're just in the lab and they're learning. It might be a needs improvement, right? Hey, these are not the way we do it. It's a coachable moment. By the time we get to block 4 and you're in the clinical area and you're doing that, or in a simulation and you don't check an armband, right? You don't ask about allergies and you're hanging blood and antibiotics together. Those are unsatisfactory. And we say that kind of tongue in cheek, but we've seen it. So when we're doing things, we have to really think about the intentional feedback that we are giving to students so they can reflect on their practice and improve. Every single student that we interact with is going to be your peer at some point. Think about that. This is a learning environment. Are they nurses yet? No, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to tell somebody you're not perfect. Okay, you need work. I know Kristen's like, yeah, that didn't work out for me. You know, some of it comes down to the way we communicate that, and we can help them. But our job is not to be their friends. Our job is to ensure that we are helping them to improve and gain the skills and the knowledge that they need to be safe med-surg generalists. Okay? I'm going to pick on OB for a second because y'all are a special breed. Anyone who knows me knows very well I'm all med-surg all day ICU. I used to get the high risk OBs. Lisa used to see. I'd come in, have a pregnant, intubated, whatever. There was one of them was there, right? This is your world. The rest is mine. It's great. I'd come in the next day, same patient. There's no baby. The fun is that no, I have nowhere on my report sheet for any of that nonsense. Is there someone more qualified to handle this? Like I am not the one right now. I would walk on and see a baby warmer and go, oh, no. See, she's got the face too. No, in my world there was no uterus. Okay, it just was nothing like that. But in OB, right? They're kind of like, not to pick on CVICU, but I'm gonna. They're kind of like CVICU sometimes. A lot of highly specialized, very intense things, right? And so you come into a specialty in nursing school. It's a specialty. The boards say we have to do the things. But what are we actually educating here? Med-surg. Med-surg generalists, not specialists. So you can't get all crazy-eyed OB when they don't know every single in and out of every fetal strip that is coming off of it. What do you mean you didn't see that? No. See, we don't do it that way. We need to kind of learn how to modulate it. So the big thing here is SLs are truly those students who can meet all of the different things that we are actually assessing them on or evaluating them on in that experience, okay? There's a coachable moment. Those are S's, right? Needs improvement is just that. Did you kind of do it, but you needed a little bit of a nudge, like you're in the clinical and I'm watching you do an assessment. I'm like, you know, lungs. Lung here, right? They needed some coaching. They're still in that general ballpark, right?
But if you were not there, would they have been successful? Nope. Needs improvement. The U is just a blatant disregard for all things that are unsafe. You are concerned that they may make choices in your absence that can put the patient or the community at harm. Our jobs as educators is to protect the community. That is our job as nurses, to protect the community and our patients. Along with that, we are educating these individuals to learn how to do that. They are not here to fly solo. So it's very difficult when we have students that are all getting S's all the time. I am perfect. Look at me. I'm great. You can't tell me that. I have an A in my didactic and I'm perfect. I have all S's, right? Let me share an example. I had a student. When I pulled a file, now by the time I'm pulling a file, do you think there's probably a pretty significant issue? Yeah, because they're in my office now. That's not the chain of command here. They don't come to me. The faculty handle the things that are, you guys handle the things in the moment, right? By the time it's escalated to me, things have gone awry, a little sideways. I'll pull the file. And when I start pulling out things that say that they, on paper, have been perfect, and yet I start talking to the faculty, oh yeah, they've never get that right. According to this, they've been perfect. And so, yeah, the student's a little shocked that I'm having a conversation with them right now. Your documentation is just like if you were to be on the floor and something went sideways and you get deposed. Okay? This is actual documentation that stays in these students' files. It is documentation that goes as part of their progression. It is documentation that I have to pull, the State Board of Nursing can pull if there is ever an issue, just like they can pull those recordings that we're going to have. It's very difficult to have a conversation with somebody if they're like, well, everyone else thought I was perfect except you. And yes, I've had that. Rolled eyes and all. But I had a student, and it was on a professionalism issue. Multiple, right? Multiple, they got block free, multiple issues. Over and over, multiple different people. Luckily, the way we schedule things, they had been evaluated and actually had documentation from multiple faculty. But it wasn't until that block. Prior to that, what do you think it was? All S's all day. And because they were really great didactically, which means they can regurgitate, right? They can tell me textbook, your textbook smart. We all know people who are textbook smart, but if you put them in the clinical, you're like, please don't touch me, right? Same thing happened with this student. And the student was very upset, very upset. How dare you? I'm an A student, I'm this, I'm that. Luckily, through that documentation, we were able to support, and it did go all the way through a grievance. So I'm talking all the way into the deans and administration, but because of the documentation that was provided, not only the letters, but the actual written narrative that went along with it, and it was consistent, it was measurable, it was objective, we were able to stand firm. This individual then had to sit out. So they went and they did a PN step out. So we have a PN step out program, which means after block 1 and 2, you can take this other class. And then you can sit for your LPN exam. Great. It's a great opportunity. I was an LPN, let's do that. They failed their PN. This straight A, all S's, nobody's ever said that anything's wrong with me ever. They failed their LPN exam. So we are not doing them any favors. They get an inflated sense of their own abilities, and that makes them actually very unsafe. And that's a scary position to be in. So we can help them if we catch it early. If they're not doing the things, all we have to do is document the things that they need to work on that action planning with them. It's okay to have NIs. Most of them are going to have an S in professionalism on day 1. But when I start seeing all S's and all skills all the time, S to me means that you can be pretty independent in doing it. I can step back and you're going to hit the majority of it. You're going to be absolutely be safe.
right? I would expect you to be on time. You know who's not on time? Block 4. Block 4 is the one who comes rolling in with their coffee. Having the same thing, right? Hair down. Yeah, please feel like, yeah, they do. Just kind of strolling up in there. So we would expect to see some of those S's, and it's okay. They could have had S's all the way. So like I said, block 1 professionalism usually is not a problem. But as we start progressing and we get senioritis, then we start seeing them slack off, right? But we just want to make sure that if they're getting the satisfactory, that they truly were satisfactory. The goal, you'll hear students go, but I have to have all S's or I'm not going to pass. So the way our grading is that students have to make 76% in their proctored points before we look at anything else in a course. Anything else. After that, we look at their clinical. So all of these S's, NIs, U's, then we look at that. And what we have is an overarching view of them at the end that one of the master's prepared or hired nurses has to sign off on. And that's the one where we actually say, are they satisfactory or not? Can they progress to the next block? You can have NIs, you can have U's within the semester. At the end of the semester, at that final overarching evaluative process, that's where they should be seeing all S's, if they have earned the S's. If they have not, then they have not. And if they don't have all S's there, that end evaluative process, that's when they still don't progress. But if they do, and they do have the S's, there's step 2. Then we add in all of the non-proctored points that sometimes our students decide they don't have to participate in. Well, it's not for points, I don't gotta do that. I would strongly caution you against that choice, but it is a choice. Every one of our non-proctored points is still mapped to outcomes. So it's still mapped to safety, professionalism, patients or person-centered care. Even though it's not a proctored point, it is still mapped to a student learning outcome for their course or for the program. And so then they add those in. If they chose not to do anything, and we do have a weighting system, so that's a district-wide, then we add those in. And if we add in a bunch of zeros and your 76% drops below, guess what happens? You don't progress. So it's a 3-part process here, but students get hung up on this S, NI, or U. They will fight you sometimes. No. Professor Harrell, I have to have all S's. What do you mean? I was in the sim, I did everything, go play the recording. Just do it. Just by that interaction, what have I just done? I've just shown that I cannot have a professional conversation with somebody. You just went from the NI to a U. So what we're asking you, and if you have any thought, you're like, gosh, I just don't know where this might fall. Who do you think you can reach out to first? Residential faculty. If you're in block 1, cohort A, you are going to be picking up that phone to Lindsay and Jill and saying, or Lindsay and Jess and saying, so this is the situation that's just occurred. Here's the thing that happened around it. This is what my first instinct is to do in this situation. And let them offer some guidance. If they are not available, please reach out to me and I will offer it. In the event you reach out to the residential faculty and then the residential faculty are like, they'll say, yeah, that's a constant conversation. Bring it on up. Our goal is not to weed out any student. That's not our goal. Our goal is to educate and support a very diverse population of students with a lot of things going on in their lives to help them reach an end goal. But at the bottom line, we still have to ensure they're safe. Above all else, they have to be safe. We cannot let them through those doors at the end of block 4 out into the community if they cannot actually do the things, because the Board of Nursing has and will, if in the first year of a new graduate, they do something catastrophic, they will come back to me and ask me for their records. I have to maintain their records here. They'll come back and look for it. What do you think is going to happen to us if we put all S's? They are perfect. Always done everything. it is going to be an unfortunate situation. So if it's an S, give them the positive feedback. And even with an S, is there always something that they could still reflect on and possibly do better? Give them the feedback. Let them know what that is. They have to learn how to accept coaching and feedback now so that it's not such a struggle when they are out in the field, no matter where they work. And NI, you absolutely need to support them and let them know what exactly was it that made it an NI. And it has to be objective. This is what I witnessed. This is what was stated to me from the bedside nurse, the patient, whatever. This is what you can do to improve it. And if it is a you, that you better also come along with a conversation with the residential faculty. The faculty, the lead faculty of those blocks. Because if we start seeing yous out in the field, yous in the lab, that's something that they have to identify. They have to trend and track. They'll put it together with everything else that they've been doing with those students. And then we come up and develop an action plan. And the sooner the better. And you know, everyone can have a one-off day. Does anyone in here not have an off day? Our students have them as well. All day, right?
Like today?
I had about 3 years of off. So I'm just saying, we can all have those off days. It's not about us, and we're not calling students out. We are not trying to target them. That's not what it's about. If the documentation supports the grade or the evaluation you have given them, then we will support you. If you ever have a question though, all you have to do is ask, okay? And then when that partners with those learning contracts, if they have an S, do they need a learning contract? No, because they actually did the things. But NIs, U's, right? A lot of times those are associated with other things. And that's where Misty comes in with sharing her wonderful templates that she has that they are going to post. Whoever is going to, someone is going to, I'm not going to post it. Somebody's posting it. I heard that agreement, right? So then you can look at those templates. And if you're like, gosh, the template just doesn't quite capture it all, then you add the things that you need to add. And I highly recommend we always align it to our handbook because our students are different now. I don't know if I ever looked at a handbook. I'm going to be totally honest. When I was in school, they said it was there. I was like the majority of our students. I'm like, yeah, great. Paperweight. Never looked at it again. Our students look at it now. They could quote you the page, the paragraph, and the bullet of where it is and why you were wrong. Absolutely. They will tell you, but don't we want them to be that student? You don't want them to be the student I am. The one who's like, okay, whatever, I'm never gonna need that. Why don't you look at it? Right? You want them to be the student who knows their rights, advocates for themselves, because if they're doing it for themselves here in an appropriate professional way, who else are they gonna advocate for? The patients. Every time they're going to advocate for you as a peer. They are going to be able to stand up and have a crucial conversation with a leader. Think of all the leaders you've come across in time. Ones that were maybe not so great. They're going to be able to, it's a skill that we want them to have, but we want to be able to have them reflect on how to do it appropriately. And this is a safe place that we can help them. Sometimes students don't progress. Don't be afraid of that. Sometimes they just need more time. What I tell them is, it's not fatal. This is not fatal. Is it a bump? Yeah. Is your ego hurt? Sure. Do you have to explain this to your family and your friends? Yup. You sure do. But at least you're not explaining how you hurt somebody out in the field, lost your license, and now you're going to jail. And usually that's enough for them to go, oh. Does anyone have any questions about S and I or U? Yes.
Oh, so for NIs and U's, like for example, the unit improvement on skill IDs, do we have to create a student contract for that? Or is that just for the party or not study?
That's usually up to each one of them. So it depends on how significant was their improvement that they needed.
usually we kind of default, like if it's a U, or if it's unsatisfactory, then it probably warrants a learning contract. But yeah. Like so many things, there's not like a black and white, it's very gray, it's just really kind of how they earn their U. Well, like if it's a safety thing, like, you know, when you say IV, I think safety, right? So if it's something that potentially put that patient at risk, then.
Like they lift their arm before they put it in, right? I'm trying to like put it over to you, like versus they taped it some way that wasn't maybe as secure as you wanted. Taping it, okay, we all have our different techniques, like let's just talk to them, yeah, you need improvement because that thing's gonna fall out, you have to redo it, like why are you gonna put the patient again? So that's it needs improvement. Do we need a learning contract? No. If we see it as repetitive behavior, should they probably go and work with Jerry in the skills lab? Yep, they probably should. Unsatisfactory is like blatant. I'm just not gonna clean your arm. I'm not gonna check the armband or the order to even see if you're the person I'm supposed to be sticking. If they have a nurse who walks by and goes, oh, you're a student, come with me, throws in the stuff and says, I need you to go start that IV on that guy over there. And the student just blindly goes, okay. Not their patient, never seen them. That's a problem. That's the kind of stuff that we're like, whoa, they're sparky.
Or they want to give, the nurse draws up the insulin and they hand it to the student.
Students never seen it, it's just here. Can you go give this over there? Sure, let me go give this paralytic to this person. I don't know if you're that weird nurse that there's a documentary about. Like, like,
About the person running down the hallway with a syringe full of Purell.
things like that, those are bad.
Well, and we put on the templates I have on there, like for professionalism, for being late, like both of those have a thing on there that says, like, you know, in addition to completing the learning contract, it also needs to be reflected I do on the appropriate. So yeah, like if they're getting a U in professionalism because they're late or whatever, then you'd be doing the learning contract. Makes sense. Hang on.
So things like that NI where you had that, I need you to practice some more, or those details that you say, you could put those in the comments too. So it's in paper what you told them. And even like the Jerry, so maybe you recommend they come in and practice. You can send a message off to Jerry and their didactic faculty that you recommended that.
Yeah,
We all work together.
yeah, you shouldn't, I'm sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I was gonna say, Eric.
Oh, and I think kind of what I was gonna say, what Corinne kind of touched on was maybe doing like an action plan versus a learning contract, where maybe if they're doing a skill that they're a little bumpy at or missed a step or two that wasn't super significant, just doing an action plan with them and being like, hey, I think maybe you need to go to the open lab and work with Jerry versus like an actual like punitive seeming learning contract.
But I'm gonna say take the maybe out.
The learning contract isn't punitive.
Yeah.
The learning contract is an
Right,
action.
it's not, but in
It's where
their
we
eyes,
document.
sometimes it is.
It's all in how you communicate.
No, the punitive action shows up at the end when they have a repetitive theme in their behaviors or absence of remediation that lands them in my office. Welcome to Legalese 101.
But yeah, I think the message we do want to convey across the board is that the learning contract is where we document an action plan, because it's something that all faculty can access. And then if there's like ongoing issues or issues that relate to that, there's a place we can go to look at that. Whereas I think if you're doing like just an action plan on a separate document that just you have, then I think stuff doesn't always get conveyed when they go from like your ped specialty into the critical care component or whatever the case may be. Just my 2 cents. I will step up.
No, it's,
Thank you for coming to Missy TED Talks.
well, it's important because you have to give them actionable items. It's not like, you know, here's the you, and I really want to encourage everyone to get out of ambiguous language. The students now, if you give a maybe or you could, it's I get an option. I need you to go in, and it's not like, I need you to go in and practice 10 IVs. That's not helpful. The challenge with your IV is that you didn't check the band. You are not angling correctly. You know, you want to go, I would like you to go and meet with the lab instructor and work on this component of the IV. It's not go do 10 IVs, because we used to do that. And we thought we were meeting the mark, and we were far, far from the mark.
I used to see that and go, so if I do something wrong 10 times, does that mean I'm good?
Yeah.
And she went,
Yeah.
and she just slow blinked me and I said,
like,
we're looking for proficiency, not quantity.
Yeah.
Because not everything can be quantified, you know, me doing something, maybe I need to do it, maybe I had an off day, maybe I need one time, maybe I made a really big mistake, but I can show proficiency every single time after I'm course corrected, every time, versus somebody else. And we've had those students, they have done it over and over and over and over again, all semester long, and you get to the end and they do the exact same thing when they're left alone.
And vice versa, right? If we're having issues in lab or in sim, we might reach out to you in clinical and say, hey, this student is having a really hard time with hearing lung sounds. And we've done that before with WAGs too, you know, to say, can you please, and then the clinical faculty can work with the nursing team to find the patient that the student is weakened. So we really want to build that bridge in collaboration, because that's where the student's going to get better. And that's where it's not punitive.
And sometimes it's very true. So it also helps us to dissipate that myth that they walk through, which is, I can't do it because it's a mannequin. Okay, well, let me help you with the patient. Come on in, let's do the same thing with this person right here. It's not a mannequin, let's do it. And then they're like, but I'm nervous when people look at me. You are in the wrong profession, friends. You are gonna be watched forever. Everyone's watching you, they're taking down your name. You're doing the right thing, calm down. You'll be okay. You're sitting, yeah, they're sitting there videotaping you as you do stuff. Things to tell them, give them something to do. They'll find something.
What is that for? I wanted to also offer, also to, just to that original question of like, is it an NI, is it a U, not really sure. If you didn't know in track when you're doing that evaluation, for each learning outcome, there's actually a definition. So you can click like a little I, and then a definition will come up. And so I just wanted to offer that if that kind of helps you make that decision. And those definitions do change for, I think, each block as well. So what's a satisfactory for patient-centered care in block 1? That's going to look different for satisfactory in block 2 and so forth.
And then going off the board, Marilyn said where we will reach out to you as clinical faculty, so that with the safety sims that are coming up next week, they will help us identify where students are maybe a little bit weaker. And so we'll reach out to you and say, hey, this student was weak in these areas during their safety sim. Please focus on these during their rotation, as well as any other things that you identify as you move along.
Yeah, these are not separate entities. And now more than ever, the faculty and the second floor sim lab faculty now have the bandwidth, the space, and the ability to really dive in. These poor students are gonna be like, why is everyone all over me? Because now we can offer those supports that we need to offer them. And it's really important for the students to recognize that we talk to each other, because there are some students, and I will tell you, 90% of the students are here to do the work, do it well, learn from you, pick your brain. It's the 10% that will keep you running. It's that, don't let that, don't let that 10% derail you from everybody else.
A quick note too, in all of our sims, for those of you that are doing sim, we do have in there what constitutes what. So if you have to like stop a sim to reset, there's a U somewhere, right? If you have to pause a sim to provide some guidance, there's an NI. So in the directions of the sims is the indications, because like we like talking about OB nurses, we're not expecting them to perform at the OB level. We're expecting them to perform at the med-surg level with the OB content. So our NI, our S, and our U is based on med-surg principles. Do you see the difference? So please know that that's another reason to look at the information ahead of time.
And I'll pick on the ICU nurses. We're some of the worst. Why don't you know that? Right? They're giving the side eye. We are the unprofessional. doing that. We throw shade like no man's business.
One
We
of
have to lower it down. And we're not making ICU nurses. We're not making peds nurses.
Yeah,
Eric over there trying to code every peds patient, like. We're not peds, not OB. I will step back a little bit and say, but I'm gonna tell you right now, psych mental health is everywhere.
Yes.
It is everywhere. If there is one thing that I wish was embedded everywhere throughout our curriculum, that's the one. Because we are all mental health nurses, whether it's on our title or not. So we really need to support them in having those conversations, recognition of those drugs. Those drugs, you know, that they show up in OB or a med surg and everyone's like, oh, they don't need to, but just not give that to them. And then you fight all the stuff that comes along with it, yanking them off their meds. So I will ask that you support them. That's from a program level.
You're also gonna have to correct them from the peers that you see at the bedside. I was at a clinical, which will remain unnamed, and the nurses refused to use the patient's name because they said it was a policy. So the nurses knew who their patient was, but they didn't know what the patient's name was. And I told the student, you will absolutely not give any meds unless you know who that patient is. You need your sticker from the chart. You need to go in and you need to do your checks. Well, the nurses said, I don't need a sticker. I am telling you right now, I will never practice in nursing. I don't care what the policy is, and I don't know who my patient is. So the nurses were telling the students, we don't speak about the patient's name, right? Which I get it. It's confident. I mean, goodness gracious, I work in peds and OB. We know all kind of horrible stuff is happening. You have to coach them out of some of the things that have flexed as a result of the pandemic and low staffing. So if you could please have those conversations with them after the clinical is over. But the nurse got upset because the student asked for a sticker and she said, I don't have time for that. And she took the meds that she went to give him and she told him, you're not gonna help me. Like she totally was inappropriate with him. So I had to coach him and coach the team through that process because it's a facility that we will be going back to. I did bring the information to the clinical educator on the unit. We did have a student be bullied and ignored. I did bring that feedback to the clinical educator. So every single clinical has a point person that is listed in my clinical exchange. Or if you're in block 1 with a facility outside of the consortium, there is a contact. Please bring that feedback to that contact. The educator gave us a new area for students. They coached the nurse. And apparently it was an issue that has been happening with that same nurse. So, you know, please like provide that feedback so that we're being proactive, because the nurses will turn around and tell the leadership and then they'll pull the school from the facility. So we have to be proactive and a little bit in the politics. And I get it, you know, everybody's exhausted, you know, no disrespect. I get it. It's just, we have to continue to coach the students on the standard of care. Because I promise you the hospital still has the standard, is just all the workarounds that have happened because of exhaustion and low staffing.
And you will all get the NA, who is an expert in every single field, because they are an NA on the ICU.
Yeah.
They're the worst, I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
Our ER techs, y'all, come on. And the ICU techs, they will come right up, they will tell you, at my facility, this is what we do, so that can't be right. Oh, okay. And we do is we try and regroup them. Of course correct them back over and say, yeah, but the NCLEX doesn't care about your facility.
I see so many of you guys giggling like.
Like it happens. Our jobs, it takes an absolute community to get these students through school safely and not break them in the process. Because I'm pretty sure how many of you were in a nursing education environment where they looked like they were designing it to break you. Just destroy every shred of self-confidence and self-worth that you have. That is not what Phoenix College is looking to do. Okay, we have spent a lot of years trying to I'll use that word, weed out those faculty who were not able to be a part of a different culture and a different mechanism of educating adults. It took us a lot. It was very painful. There was kicking and screaming and the whole thing through it. And that's why each one of you is here, because we are very intentional on the individuals that are going to be supporting our students. They are ours, not my students, not her students. They are our students. If you are an employee, these are our students.
We are all here to help support them in any way that we possibly can that does not cross professional boundaries or land us in HR. Yes, Jess?
I just have to add, and I don't know if we went over, but or some adjunct faculty have asked, like, how do I know what to give? And on the rubric, guys, it'll tell you specifically, so if you go under safety, it'll tell you if they inconsistently apply safe practices, that would be an I. But if they're completely unable to perform safely, that would be the U. So, because they are still students, so, you know, if they do, it just really is somewhat subjective, which is hard, but you guys know, I mean.
And we are, and what just, that's what, you know, look at those rubrics. It is your responsibility. You were hired to make sure you understand what those rubrics say. You have to open them up, you have to look at them, you have to understand them. And if you have a question about them, you need to ask the people who created those rubrics. Because if there is any ambiguity that you, for you, imagine how our students feel. And we can clarify that, and we can get in front of it really quick. And it takes all of our eyes to look at something from a different lens and say, gosh, that really doesn't make any sense. And then the residential faculty's responsibility to those students and to you is to go ahead and correct it. And they're gonna fix it, and we're gonna make it more clear. And every time we do that, all we're gonna do is strengthen the assessment tools and the evaluative process that we use for our students. It's only gonna make it better, but we have to know. And students will tell us, but they may not tell us in the same way that you will from the lens that you're looking at it. But I always laugh, they're not like one faculty to students. They have like hundreds of nurses that impact them throughout their journey.
So now we're at the time, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, now it's Q&A time. So if there's any questions, clarification, for those of you that haven't been in the building yet, we can do a little mini tour. You can walk around. But we just want to open up the floor for any questions.
Not a question, just a comment. I love the collaboration aspect of it because it's so important. As a clinical instructor, I work for like 2 other colleges, but I noticed that some students, the 10%, they do latch on to those inconsistencies. And they're like, well, my didactic teacher said this. Then you're able to like, hey, you know what? We're all trying to stay on the same page. No, they didn't, you know, because their email says this, you know. So I love the collaboration part of it. I haven't seen that anywhere else. It's nice. I'm actually, it makes me, I'm relieved that we have that because we're so disconnected from the, you know, from the actual didactic teachers around in the field. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Yeah, our didactic, we're all looking at. And most, a lot of our didactic, they still go out and film it, so they get it, they understand, they're still working into that.
You referenced an assessment, like for initials, like N through Z.
Yes. So that is where you choose an assignment to evaluate for the HLC for Phoenix College. So HLC is a higher learning commission.
Okay.
Yeah, we are the like horrible with acronyms, so please correct us and slow us down. So Higher Learning Commission, Arizona Commission of Education, what's ASIN?
No.
She's like all the no.
The ASIN.
The ASIN.
It's actually got a the in front of it. The Accreditation Commission. Keep going with it.
Education.
And nursing.
Thank you for rescuing me, friend. So that's our accreditation as a nursing program. And then AZBN is Arizona Board of Nursing.
And that's our regulatory. So policy procedure is the Arizona Board of Nursing. They can make or break you. Then the next layer is ASIN, who's like, are you doing the things you said you needed to do to be accredited as a nursing program? And they defer a lot to the Board of Nursing, our regulatory board, because each state is regulated, where ASIN's national. Each state board of nursing gets to decide what they want to do. And this is the old West, so they decide what they want to do. And then the Higher Learning Commission is over the entire college. So if we could not have a nursing program, if we did not have HLC accreditation for our entire college. And just so everyone knows, we are up for all of our accreditations, both in HLC and for ASIN in fall of 25. So we're going to have everybody. So I'm just letting you know that now in case that's when you want to strategically plan your vacation.
I hope you won't, because we will need each of you here, because they will come out and they will visit you. You will not be qualified for a sabbatical. I can take a sabbatical.
I could take a sabbatical.
We're all taking a sabbatical. Good luck to you.
So Nicole, to answer Nicole's question, I just went back to the faculty course.
Okay, oh, and I caught that part.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a second, I was talking to Kira, but I got the part when you were putting there back. So you heard the first.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. So that is an assessment that we have made an arrangements with our assessment team for the college. I just want to make sure everybody can hear this, that we want to, so that we can meet our competency. They have graced us with splitting the adjuncts to one semester. So you only have to do it once a year. Okay. And it's by your last name, right? Which is the part that you caught, which was N through Z is this semester. Yes, yes.
So it's an assignment there, or would you?
You would pick an assignment that you graded first. Yes. Yep. And
We're gonna make you make stuff up. Like,
No.
Nicole, we got you. We're gonna mess with you now.
And then here's the other part of that, which I think is really important to note, is that we do have a course assignments. Now, this hasn't been updated for the semester just yet. But
It makes my head hurt.
I know, but each block puts in what assignments that they have provided, and you just have to do one assessment for one assignment that you did. Okay, so you don't have to do one for each block. Like some of the adjunct faculty work across all blocks, right? You don't have to do one for every block. You just have to do one.
Unless you want to give us that data and do one across everything. Oh. No, 1 and 4, so I can
Pick either one. And so you, we believe in quality, not quantity. And we also have different learning objectives we're trying to meet. So some blocks will have more assignments than others. And you can also pick a cohort. So you have 2 opportunities for that assignment to be evaluated because of the cohorts. We have matching, pretty much mostly matching assignments. So you just put your name down and what you're going to pick. And again, please don't do that today because we have to update to fall. We just got back 2 days ago. So we're catching up.
Give us a minute.
Yeah, give me a second. And then pick your assignment. So I'll just send notes about today's meeting, not like all over again, because people can watch the recording, but just key highlights and to-dos. And then we'll add those things that you requested. So thanks for asking. Yeah. Any other questions? We got about 12 minutes. We also love the gift of time, not to discourage questions. Wait, I think somebody online is trying to ask something.
Yeah, it's Tanya. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, Tanya.
Hey, I was just wondering, I had taken first semester off and I'm a D, so I can do it this semester if that would help everybody for the data.
Yeah, if you, I know, we appreciate that. And then we'll get you back on your normal rotation. Again, guys, we understand, like, we need you to take one assignment per semester to keep you in the queue or the system is going to boot you out. But like a lot of people we talked about are in master's programs, DMP programs, got 3 jobs, had a baby, had a death. If you need a semester off, just please email Constance so that we don't lose you in the process, because then you got to get rehired all over again.
And then my other question.
We got one more question. Go ahead.
Sorry. It's about the open assignments. For that, I can access the form, but do I just email Constance? Is that how we would do it still for requests for things that are open?
Yes, that is what we are doing.
Yeah, perfect. That I was just making sure it hasn't changed. And I already have all of my stuff ready to send to Gabe, so I apologize.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I literally took the semester off.
Good for you. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I have a TB test this afternoon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So, and if anybody is like, you know, you're one of those people that says, I'm just not doing sim, not having a part of that. If it would be helpful for you to go in and shadow one of those experiences, we can do that. I just have to know in advance, and no, you can't shadow every single one for the entire semester. I cannot pay for that. But I can bring you in so you can check out some of those experiences. And you can, I would then pair you up with the faculty there so that you can see how it works, how it's run, how it's developed. Most, and I'm gonna do this as a shameless plug because that's how I do it. A lot of our faculty who are here started out as adjuncts. Our full-time faculty started out as adjuncts.
And you are the individuals that I come to when I am looking, especially when you get those 3 little letters after your name, that we have to have. So you cannot teach in a classroom environment for RN students unless you have your master's degree. However, we do have a PN step out program. And that PN, that 190, that UR 191, that you can have your bachelor's only to do. Okay, it's Peds and OB at LPN level. And then as we move forward in the progression of the college itself, we will be adding in an NA program. We will be focusing on some advanced placement pathways. So those who do not have masters, there are still opportunities for you to teach there. The other last bit, in the event I contact you and say, I'm really sorry, but this assignment that you had signed up for, I have to take it back. One of the regulations that we have is that every residential faculty or full-time faculty member here has to meet certain load. Okay, we have to meet 15 load each semester. In the event that part of that load was something that can be, has some hand with a clinical agency, they were associated with a rotation that got we just canceled, 3 or 4 rotations got canceled on us. Nothing we could do about it. If they drop below 15, I have to have an added, whatever one fits with their schedule, I have to have them at 15. That means sometimes an adjunct would have to get moved. If you have to get moved, I will let you know that as soon as I possibly can. I then keep a running list. You're not going to be the next one to get moved if it happens again. Okay? Because I don't want to see that kind of repetitive. But we just have no control over with if the agencies say, gosh, we double booked, which we've had several of. Oh gosh, I just can't take that rotation anymore. You know, because we have 3 other schools. Oh, okay, great. It does happen. It's very rare, but it's out of our control. So I will apologize. I will see what else I have for you. And then I will make sure that you are not the one that happens to again, if it does pop up. Because I know a lot of you take multiple assignments. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
My question is about signing up for clinicals and all, that process hasn't been complete.
In the faculty campus course,
Is that where it happens?
it says open assignments and then Vanna.
Stand by, will advise.
So you click in open assignments.
Okay.
And then as soon as I have them, it'll actually tell you at the top, it says when I last updated it, meaning any changes that have happened, I changed that spreadsheet, pop it back up in there. And then it will show this. If you go to the bottom, there are tabs. So there'll be I don't know why you have it in there. Maybe it's smaller. I don't know why you can't see them. There are actually 2 tabs at the bottom.
I wonder if it's because it opened in Canvas.
Yeah.
It opened like a PDF.
Yeah, I don't know what it's doing.
Maybe we can do a hyperlink, not to the document, but not to a PDF, but to the document. No,
it's an Excel.
Okay.
So at the bottom, there's clinical tab and there is a campus space. Okay. You can download it.
I'm gonna download it.
I have no idea. That's the strangest thing I've
Let's
ever seen.
download it.
There was something on the page too.
It's
Yeah, it was
thinking.
super strange. Anyway, there are 2 tabs and I will post those and it'll always give the instructions.
Here it is.
It also, here we go.
Campus.
So clinical and campus. It'll also give you in the Canvas course, it'll remind everybody of what the max load is for an adjunct. I don't have any choices on those. I can't go over those max load. It will also tell you exactly how to do, how to respond to me, because then in my email, so if you can imagine, I get a lot of email. Okay. The subject line is always like spring 23 assignment. Because I have my email set up to capture all of those and pull them into one spot so I don't lose them. If you have anything else on there, I have to go back and find it and hunt for it and hope I don't miss something. Okay, So once that's done, I assign everything. When it's done, it's done. I always keep those emails though, in case somebody has to drop off. Somebody drops off, I'll come right back and go, hey, you still available for this? Or I start begging. Everyone who was here during COVID knows how I beg. We say, take one day, we'll have 5 clinical instructors on one rotation. Then what happens after this is I load everybody, okay, and we're almost at that point now where everything's done. Today and tomorrow, I start creating load sheets. And what that is I go off of our big internal calendars, which sit behind the scenes that only the residential faculty can see. And each one of you will get your own load sheet, and it's going to say the things that you told me you were available to sign up for. I'll send it out and I will ask you to confirm. You got to email me back and say, yes, that was correct, or no, it wasn't correct, because then that goes over to payroll. And it's a massive, complex amount of information. I send it to payroll and in it goes. And then they will start paying out. If you are one of the individuals though that loads all the way to 12, your payroll is a funky thing. I will spread it over the entire semester, because if I do not, and you go over a certain number of hours in a week, they will start automatically pulling, what is it, almost 12% of your pay. Yeah, WAGs can talk to that one. They start pulling 12% of your pay into the Arizona State Retirement. And I can never make it go away. Now, once that happens, forever, it will continue to pull it. Lisa had that happen. She goes, why are they taking my money? I'm like, welcome to the Arizona State Retirement System. So I will spread it all the way up. If it's just, you have one rotation, then I will absolutely, it'll be put in during the time frame and the payroll period that you would normally be, working in. But if you're one of those individuals that's doing a lot, spread that bad boy all the way out. If you ever get a check, say you were signed up for something and then you canceled it and you start seeing a check come in, please email me immediately. Things do happen. Things get missed when they go in to get canceled. We are still a government entity here, which means that there are 15 systems, only half of them work, and I have to do all of them with 15 different people. So a lot of stuff can get missed when that many people are playing with things. We never want to find ourselves in a situation of overpayment, but if that does happen, whether it hits your bank or you get a physical check, just hold, email me, and then I will start the process behind the scenes with HR and scheduling for them to zero out. They'll tell you where to send the money back to, okay? It's happened once, just once. But now we have that process down and we understand exactly what we need to do if it does occur. So adjunct faculty can get loaded up to 9 load, okay? With special permission, I can go from up to 12.
No payroll here.
Yep, and that'll tell you some of that as well. 1 load hour, okay, is the equivalent essentially of approximately 15 student contact hours. And I give you the formula right there so you can calculate that bad boy out. They do have the new fact, I don't know, it's coming in, they're gonna start being adjunct tiered pay, where you start at 1 and then you, through professional growth, that you submit kind of like clinical ladders that everyone has had some type of experience with, and then it can start moving that pay rate up. They really haven't given us a ton of information on that right now. But 1 load hour is at the 10-12. So I use that as a clinical, but it's just a simple, I'm gonna make you do the maths. And I do tell everybody, know how you calculate your load. When I post those, it says what the load amount is for each experience. I can quote them very quickly because that's all I seem to do. That's where the majority of my life is spent. But I tell everybody, make sure you're keeping track of your stuff, okay? Keep all of us honest. Make sure you are tracking what it is that you signed up for and the load. Keep that load sheet. If anything starts to look off, you don't see it, please let me know. Because when I send this off to scheduling, it's just their people too. It's not an automated system, so they could transpose stuff, they can make errors. They usually don't, but it has happened in the past.
This is the load when you're asking for something or you're putting in for something, the load is here.
Right there.
And this is the hours.
Is that in like Canvas?
It's in the spreadsheet.
Yeah, this is the open assignments. So like I know with an absolute certainty that a block one clinical is 4.8 load. Yeah.
That's per month or per pay?
Per semester. Yes. Yep. The load goes with the experience type based off of the number of hours, student contact hours. I know load's a horrible thing. Ask most residential faculty to read their paycheck and see what happens. Everyone's gonna be like, I don't know, they just pay me. Yes.
Quick question. I signed up for a safety sim.
Uh-huh.
And I see, this back in my memory, I went back. I think it was like Canada. It says that, you know, it tells you the time that the safety sim is happening, but then it says there's 2 openings or something like that. So like, what does that mean? Am I scheduling myself to work that entire time?
Yes.
that is on there?
Yes, absolutely. So anything that you see on there, you are signing up for all the dates. If it is a date with a dash and another date, you are signing up for the entire range of dates. If it is a date, date dash date, that is probably not sequential in the weeks, you are signing up for all of those. When it is a single experience here, those hours that are listed, those are the hours that they expect the faculty to be here. The students aren't here in that time, but the faculty are because we have pre-brief, debrief, all of the things. Now, Ms. Corinne and I are going to have a conversation about those of you coming into the safety sim who need to come in to learn things because you were not loaded to come in earlier than that. And so I'm going to have to get with her to figure out what that looks like so that we can be very clear. If you are at the safety sim and you're coming in the same day, this is what time you need to be here so that I can pay you. Okay? Because that is essential training and I have to pay you for those things.
You don't submit our hours.
Nope. Do not enter anything ever, ever, ever into HCM as a time card punch, please. It starts a whole sequence of events like, yeah, please don't. Everybody does it at some point, and then I get nasty grams. Why are they locked? You need to go to its exceptions. I just don't want to. I hate paperwork.
So it's 12:03 and I don't want to cut off any other questions, but I do want to release folks online. I did want to point out that if there was a meeting or something, that we do have a time reporting form here. This is on the faculty course. This is not in Maricopa systems.
Nope.
Okay, so that's the difference in what Constance is referring to.
Yeah.
And we cannot ask you to come in for a meeting without getting it pre-approval, Constance. So please help us, hold us accountable for that.
Yeah. So this one, we say if you're doing certain things, like with Corinne, it's completely different. When she says we have a training you mandatorily have to do, that's a requirement for us because of our regulatory agencies. That's where I get to tell our, because adjuncts don't get paid to come to department meetings, etc. Okay. We are very unique in the fact that ours are regulatory based and it is it's mandatory for our accrediting body. Those I can pay you for, but it is a very, like the amount of tracking that we have to do, that poor Dave. I know he's looking around this room right now going, all those one-time pays.
So that's how this is how we would be paid for this meeting.
That's how we would be paid for a meeting, for simulation training. If Maryland is doing some crazy OB piloting, woo!
Everybody wants to come in for it.
Yeah. You have to sign in so that we know you were here.
This is part of our reporting to the board that we are providing continuing education for you. Or not.
Nope, just
Wrong words.
orientation.
Orientation. So if you haven't signed in, even residential faculty,
Yeah.
sign in. Okay?
You get no money.
You didn't know.
No.
Even on the paper, so retired. You're still responsible for our clinical groups for the masks and the face shields.
Masks and face shield, what you doing with that?
Okay, so all students have their own mask, they have their own face shield, and they have their own goggles. They should be continuing to keep those and bring those forward. They all get them in block one. Masks, we are giving them their first mask when they get their test fit. They are responsible to keep that mask nice and pretty. They should bring it with them. If they need to use it that day, they use it that day, they're gonna toss it. They need to meet with our team and get a new one before they go to clinical, because as we know, sometimes they use it, sometimes they don't. It really depends on the patient. So it's their responsibility.
And same thing for any adjunct in here, if you haven't been mask fit recently, or you work for an employer who's like, we're using 18,000, use this paper bag as your N95. You can come on in and we will mask fit you right here, and we will get you set up so that we can provide you with PPE. Yeah, I say that tongue in cheek, I know it's a horrible thing that happened to everybody, but.
Can I just put a plug out there for peds? If you're interested in working in a peds experience, I have plenty of openings. You don't need to be a peds nurse. I can use you. Wags.
You only have a few openings on one day.
One day.
Any other questions? Because we're over time now. We respect your time and thank you for being here. We're good to go? Thanks, everyone. Please make sure you sign in.
So, and just as a caveat, anyone in the room, if you want to go upstairs and kind of take a look around the space, that is fine. Just be mindful, there's boxes everywhere because they are still in the middle of being installed. But you are allowed to go up there. I have been in the hospital. So I work.